some of you know most of us up here, but I see a few new faces that I don't know. You may not know all of us. I'm Bob Thompson, the general manager here in Ocean Pines. Directly to my right, Ted Maroney. Ted owns property here. He's an engineer. He and his brother own a company back in the D.C. area, do line engineering work. He's been part of the 10-year task force. He was one of the major folks that helped us get this building built, work through that process. He and Mr. Rako. So Ted's got a lot of experience in the industry experience as well as Ocean Pines experience. Mr. Stevens is with us today. Dave Stevens on the board. Mr. Ray Unger, both board members. I saw Mr. Bill Wentworth in the back. One of our board members is here. Kevin Olin. Kevin, raise your hand, please. Kevin is with AWB Engineers. They're the architect and the folks that are working closely with the Harkins Company that they've designed for the property. Next to it, Don Smith is with Harkins Company, the contractor that's put the bid in and they wanted in the proposal for us. Teresa Trevatello, who doesn't, I think most know, but if you don't, she's our marketing department, all in one. Art Carmine, our controller, who I promised I'd bring up on stage at some point, watching her red. No, promise I won't, Art. And Michelle Baird works with me in my office. So that's the staff that's here today. Did I miss any introductions? Dave Swarton, our IT guy, he's struggling already because when the microphone didn't work, the panic on his face. So again, we did that. So we'll see what we can do there. And I see David in the back. Dave, raise your hand, because a lot of this involves you. Walk up so everybody can see your face real quick. All right, this is David McLaughlin. Those who don't know David is our new yacht club manager. Been here 2 months and we're already seeing some very, very positive results from his efforts. So we pretty much had that. Miss anybody else? I'd go through and introduce all of you, but then we'd be here till noon and everybody'd be upset. So I think that's everyone. Did I miss anybody, guys? All right. And I think what I'm going to do, Michelle, would you hit one more set of lights and see if it's easier to see in the back? They're right there in the corner, right near the door. All right, after we're done with the presentation part, we're going to do question and answers. What we've done is we've set a microphone right up here on the right side. That way we prevent, a lot of times when people ask the questions, people say, I can't hear, and those type of things, and you hear the echo with the microphone. We just set one up there, so if you have a question, we did not do the number system this time, because to me that's a little too, I didn't want to be that formal. I want to be as much interaction, but if you have some questions, please come up and just line up along there and come up and ask your question. I want to make sure everybody hears it, because a lot of times the questions that are asked, someone else in the audience is going to have and just won't come up to ask it. Okay, everybody good with that? All right. Let's talk just a little bit about the history, so everybody, because there's a lot of folks that don't know, a lot of the comments we've been hearing is, how did we get here so fast, or we didn't, what due diligence was done? So I'll just do a real quick recap of where we are and how we got here. December 2010, the yacht club damage was identified and we did temporary repairs. Primarily what that was the those that know, under were the pilings. We had the pilings failing. What we had to do is shore those up. We had an engineer come in, they took a look at it, and we said, how do we temporarily fix this? The way to permanently fix it is lift the whole building, cap them all off like we did a couple of years ago with one portion of it. We knew we didn't want to go to that expense. We said, how do we temporarily get through until we figure out what we need to do next? There's some of the steps that came out of that report. 2011 project prioritized. What we did, the board said, all right, what are we going to do, not only with the yacht club, with the country club, with all of our structures, all of our facilities. So what we did was we set out, a group of us got together, we started talking about not just the yacht club, but all of our infrastructure, all of our buildings, all of our property, so we tied it all into a binder. And we have the biggest binder on the desk there was the first one completed for the board. And we pretty much broke everything down that we own. We thought that was important because it's too easy to say, this is failing, we're going to put all money and effort into it. But guess what? We have a lot of property. We need to see how that works together with all the other properties. We accomplished that in June. August, we sent out an RFP on the yacht club. Basically, we created an engineering request to find out what the true condition. There was a lot of visual inspections. There was a lot of work done prior to this. 10-year task force, good report, Duke Stevens report that came out explaining how we used the facility. A lot of people did a lot of work leading up to this. But what we need, but there were also a lot of people going, well, wait a minute, are they opinions? Are they facts? We went and did a very, very invasive study of the yacht club. When I say invasive, we actually cut some holes in the wall. We pulled some of the planking up. We did some of the things so we could get a little bit deeper, not just do a visual inspection, but do a hands-on, in-depth. If you've ever crawled under the building, if you've ever looked where we teared some of the boards up, you'll see, and I'm going to give some pictures of some of the infrastructure that we found. September, we received the RFP, request for proposal, by the way. And then from there, we knew what we had. We knew that we had some challenges with the club itself. We went ahead and then started to design, put a new design together if we were going to replace the club. That was with the RFP. Becker Morgan actually came up with the first concept. Once we put all that together, presented to the board, we said, here's what we would like to do with the project. We came back to you. In January, we had 3 meetings. They were involved the Yacht Club, the Country Club, and one was combined. Those that were here, remember, we were in the Aztec room. It was standing room only. And we ended up, they were 3, 4, 5-hour meetings, a lot of interaction. We recorded all that information, we went back, and that's where we started to begin the next step or the next phase based on the feedback I received from the board, based on the feedback I received from the community. From there, we were able to develop a scope of work. We're going to go a little deeper into scope of work in a second. Put the project out for bid. Bids came back in. From there, we had to level the bids. And what that meant was, how do you compare apples to apples? We need to make sure we didn't have apples to oranges. It's easy to say, okay, here are all the bids, here's the low bid, here's the high bid, here's all the ones in between. But when you do that, without leveling it, see who included what items, what parts were included, what were not. We spent a lot of time leveling the bids before we presented them. Then the board, from there, the board selected which way they wanted to go, which builder they wanted to work with. Again, I did a real quick snapshot. Anyone who's here in the other meetings know we spent a lot more time on it. Okay, when we did the scope, we did independent analysis. It was broken into 2 components. Okay, the rehab. And then what we did, and this is important that everyone needs to understand, when we developed the scope of work that went out to find out what we should do from the builders, the question we had was rehab or rebuild, and when we sent it out, we told them you can bid on one or both projects. In other words, if you'd like to build the rehab, go ahead and bid the rehab. If you'd like to do new construct, build the new construct. If you want, you can bid on both. The other important thing to know when we looked at the rehab, when we developed the scope of work, it was developed around the actual necessities on the building, not the niceties, not the things that we'd like to have, not a better layout, not a better kitchen design. It was what do we need to do to shore the building up, to make it safe to operate well into the future. Did I miss anything on that one? New scope of work, we took all the information we had when we developed the concept of Becker Morgan, we presented it to the board, we came back and presented it to the community, we went back and started taking a lot of notes, and we built our scope around that one. This was, okay, we'd like a new building, and here are all the pieces we'd like included in it. If you remember, one of the big things that came out of the town hall meetings that we had was downstairs, the initial concept was a 1-story building pretty much on stilts with open flow underneath. Resoundingly, the town hall meeting folks said, no, you're going to close that downstairs. We want to have that space. That was one of the things we put in the scope when we went back to do the new. We said, hey, we need to enclose this space. So there's been a lot of interaction over the last couple of years getting us to where we are today. Just point some things out that the renovation the scope of the renovation included. Okay, site work, foundation concrete, deck posts, stairs and railings, entrance canopy, main entrance walls and doors, exterior siding, roof and gutter, electrical, glazing, thermal envelope, plumbing, and restrooms. These were all the pieces that primarily were identified in the engineering study that needed to be addressed. Okay, we sent it out, the engineer came back, gave us the information, so we were able to go from there. Just in case, and I threw through some of these, and these aren't to be scary. These aren't to go, oh, Bob's trying to sell us, so he's trying to point out some really ugly slides. These have been out here. The engineering report had it. We have some upcoming walk-arounds that I'm happy to walk around and show people how some of the, where and how some of these pictures are. When we're looking at rehab, folks are saying, you can renovate the building. Just renovate it. It's okay. Just do it. Here are some of the things we're faced with. When we pull some of the decking, some of the material back, there's where the water damage is, the mold that's formed. Screwdriver. Walk up. There are main spots on the building. You can take a regular screwdriver, walk up, and just slide it right into one of the pilings, right into some of the sill plates, a lot of those areas. And I took somebody, it was 2 weeks ago, I was down at the yacht club, had someone saying, no way, we just fix this, I don't believe this. I said, give me 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, if I can't walk you around and show you some of these items specifically, and show you what, she agreed to do it. 5 minutes, she was convinced. I pulled my keys out. There are a couple of spots near the foundation. There's a screwdriver. The first one was one area. Here's the second area. The screwdriver went all the way until it hit the handle. Okay, I pulled my keys out while I was walking around with this person. And I just started putting around some of the sills, some of the pilings, and it was just crumbling around my car keys. Walked around showing her some of these things. We're not making this stuff up. It's a 40-year building, 40-year-old building that's been on the water. It was built for summer seasonal use. It was built to sell property. Hence, we're having some of these issues. Hard to see. This is where some of the beams, the support structures stand up. This is a metal plate. The structure would come up here. It's all rusted out and failing, and the beam was completely failed on. More of the rusted, this was one of the areas where you can, this is some of the braces that hold the building up. You can see where it's all deteriorating. I'm sorry it's a little dark, hard to see here. Again, I'm happy to do a walkthrough and show anybody this. There's a little better shot of it. And it just crumbles when you start hitting and poking and going around the building. Okay, I just did it real quick. We have the engineering studies. I have a lot more detail that I can show all that to you. I didn't want to spend hours going over the same thing we've done again and again. I just gave you some quick highlights. The results. When we sent it out and we did the bid leveling, the most complete bid that we had for renovation came in from Lehman. Lehman is the contractor that did this structure for us. Okay? Here's how they broke it down. Now, I've heard a lot, there's a lot of folks out there that said, oh, well, we can renovate for $1.5 million at the yacht club and let's just keep moving. Well, we could do a partial renovation, and I tell you, the 1.5 is a good number, but what it does is just cover the exterior of the building. And the Lehman report clearly showed that. Everything from the exterior, between the pilings, between the sill plates, between the windows, everything they need to do is $1.4 million. Interior or exterior only. Ted, anything you want to add to that one? Okay. Interior scope, again, we asked them, they give it to us in 2 phases. The reason it came in 2 phases, it was important that we wanted to know if we were going to phase this in, if we were going to do the work. Could we do it in stages so it wasn't a big upfront cost to us? Well, they said, yeah, but then to go back and do the interior work of the facility that was needed, another $1 million. When you add all that up, and then let's say we decide to move forward with that project. Okay, we're going to renovate it. You add a 20% contingency on renovation work. Different than new construction. You add 20%, which is pretty much industry standard, because you don't know once you start the renovation work, what you're actually going to end up with. The rotting pillars, all those type of things, once you start to dig a little deeper, you're more than likely going to find more challenges that you come up with. Hence, that's why the 20% contingency. So when you add it all up, you're $2.9 million to do the project. Now, it's easy to say, okay, well, if we didn't use a contingency, okay, great. If we don't use a contingency, we're still $2.5 million to renovate the existing building. What the renovation did not include, okay, those numbers, everything we put out on the scope, was basically telling us, make us safe, fix the building, fix it for 20, 30 years out. Here's what it didn't include. Layout and design of the building. did not include kitchen size and flow. Okay, anybody notice how the kitchen, smaller downstairs, bigger upstairs, we're not repairing any of that. There was no fix to make it a better design to meet the needs of the community today. Interior column spacing, didn't change that. Acoustics. Anybody go, David, how was it last night? You were worried with the band and the weather. Inside gets so busy that when we try to have the entertainment move in, or when we have a full house, biggest complaint we get is you can't even talk to the person next to you because it gets so loud in the building. Again, just part of the acoustics. Limited outdoor space. Or if we renovate the building where it is as is, we still limit the outdoor space. Anybody seen some of the things we've done this year, which have been great, and I appreciate David really taking a lead on it. We've moved the band down to the lower deck, a lot more space. There's a lot more people coming out. We have more people coming out to use the facility, and we're still very, very tight on our space. Renovation does not fix any of that. Does not improve the insulation factors other than the first floor. Underneath the building, and there's some pictures, and they're in the other room. The pictures to show where the insulation, there's either no or failing insulation all around the building. Obviously, if we did a renovation and we did the first floor, jack the building up, cap the pilings, you would insulate the building when you set it back down. Does not cover insulation on the upper level. And the third floor would still remain non-ADA compliant. Now, what that means to us is if we had someone with a disability that wanted to come to work for us, we would have to make other accommodations. If I spend the up third floor is where offices are over there. It's not ADA compliant right now. The elevator doesn't go to the third floor. We're grandfathered because that's the way the building was. We're still with the current codes, but if we're going to renovate something, wouldn't we want to make it ADA compliant everywhere? So these are all things that kind of glared at us when we look at renovation, and people say, oh, renovate. I got it. But the facts are, it's terribly expensive and it still doesn't meet our needs. All right, new construction. From there, scope went out. We did the new construction with all the parts and pieces. We started with our first design. The water's here. Okay, this was the first Becker Morgan design we started out with. And it gave us an idea of what type of structure we wanted to go with. It's changed since then. Once Harkins came back with their bid, we had several very good builders build the project, narrowed down to Harkins. Harkins works with AWB engineers, that's Kevin who's here, and what he did, they went back, looked at it, and they finished up plans. Here's some pictures of it. Well, the deck space, and I want to point this one out, everything here is all level. We no longer have the multiple levels of stairwells to climb up and down from every different area. We do have we will have stairwell break points, and it won't be exactly like this. This was the original design that puts you on the lower dock where the boats are, but everything else here becomes level. Okay, it's an ease of flow. And it was interesting, part of that design came, I'm speaking to Leighton more about our project. Everybody does know Leighton runs Secrets, very successful. One of the things when I first talked to him about it, he said, well, Bob, hey, get rid of any stairs you can. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, my success, I level everything. Everything stays on one floor. If you walk through Secrets at the different facility, from the sand to the dance floors to the different bars, guess what? He's right. It's all about ease of flow. Everything's about flow, and that's how you get the patrons through. That's how they're happy, the whole nine yards. So all those type of all that input, that type of feedback helped us with our design strategy when we moved forward. Again, here's our building. First floor, we're standing. You're all sitting in the water if you're looking at the building here. Okay, this is the side view from the pool area. And again, all these are in the back of the Aztec room. You can go up close and take a real good look. I know on the screen it doesn't quite do it justice. In addition, these are all available online. I believe they're already online now on our website. They're right, Teresa? So they're up. So when you leave here today, if you want to go look at any of these yourself from your home where you get a little more detail, video. Do that, please. Entrance side view. The parking lot is sort of out where the stand here is. I'm showing the pictures first because they're the easy ones. I'm going to show you the layout, the interior, and walk you through that in more detail. Some of the things we took advantage of, the covered entrance was a big deal. I mean, now we put the blue awning up recently. Probably doesn't give you the carport. So you all know a lot of times you're pulling up, you're rushing in and out, you got a long walk to the facility. This gives us the opportunity to get out, inclement weather, actually anytime, park under here, drop off, and then top view. Now, the other thing I want to make sure that I point out, you notice the colors are different here. Okay, I've had a number of folks come in. I want a blue roof, I want a red roof, I want a green roof. I want a white building, I want a brown building. It should be gray to match the area. Okay, please understand, that's why I put the first one up with the red roof and the white siding. This time it's green. We're leaning towards the greens, but please don't, when I walk out here, start throwing rocks going, hey, I don't like the color. We're flexible on that. That's stuff we can get feedback. We're way ahead on that. But I already know. And trust me, I've already had some great feedback on both. And you know who you are. I see a couple in here that have come up to me about it. Interesting part of the design, I just want to point out, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you're building a Taj Mahal. Not at all true. Look at this, actually gives you a pretty good snapshot. The building has some really neat flow to it, some architectural features that make it look really, really nice. But if you look at this from the cost standpoint, the true sense of economics, you have one big box with a couple boxes added on. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's really how it's built. It allows for the highest and best use of the space. It's economically effective to build it this way. Again, we looked at all those features. Again, it's your money. We need to make sure we're not trying to overspend something. So all those things were taken into consideration when we were designing the facility. The brick, or the stone brickwork here, there's samples in the ASTI room. We're not set on those. Okay, they're where we are. That's what was put in the bid. We can change that. Any of this, any exterior, the look, the feel, we're still at that point where we'll make, once the referendum's approved, we'll be able to make any of these changes. We had to have something to bring to you of what we'd like it to be. All right, here we go into the site plan. This one's where you actually start to get, not the pretty pictures, but some of the meat of what we're doing. See that dotted line? This is where our existing structure is now. Okay? The new building is here. Existing building, new building. Part of the move of the design, okay, was to take advantage of, right now, this is the area where the tiki bar and the lower deck, for those that go a lot, you know how tight it is. We try to squeeze the band up here, we squeeze the band down here. This area is where, this is, I hate to say it this way, but this is money for us. The deck is the money area. That's where folks, that's where, summer season is where we're making our money. That's where we have most, the community's the most highly populated. We have the most folks there enjoying their second home, enjoying their relatives, the whole 9 yards. Let's face it, we're a beachfront, or beach location community. People are coming to go to the beach, they're coming to the waterfront. So part of the new design takes advantage of what we have that most others don't. And if you start thinking about some of the most successful restaurants, what do they have? They have something in their location that makes them special. Secrets is right on the water. Fager's right on the water. We have water. We have one of the nicest coves in the area. Protected cove, even during rough weather. This is a beautiful setting. Moving the building allows us all this additional deck space. Something that came up this week when we were talking with the board about it. Well, we really didn't take into consideration or do a whole lot of thought here on how we're using the space. And I thought it was interesting, and it was a good question, but we actually did. The design of the facility is to free up this space to allow more outdoor experience. The initial design, the Becker Morgan design, we showed the patio with all the trees and everything out there. We recognize that people like, when the weather's good, they like to be outside dining. We're trying to take advantage. So this space was not only thought of, the move of the building was to take advantage of it. So it was a great question. I realized I must now highlight well enough for everybody to understand this actual move helps us with the deck space. A lot more of it. Okay, building. Some of the things, the gray area is where we're adding parking spaces. A couple things I want to point out with the parking. Okay, first, this area here right next to the building. Here's the drive, the alcove where you pull up. This side. You can't see it real well back there, but that's handicap parking. Those that know, our handicap parking is out in this area, which is a ways from our building. We have it right next to the building. We thought that was important. I mean, handicap parking, have it next to the building. And it's in a spot that doesn't distract from, even if this parking lot ends up full, it's not in the way of anything. Other thing, adding the parking here, okay, which basically extends where that round piece that goes this way, adds the parking we need, also gives us ample parking for use of anywhere in that facility. If you're coming in early in the morning to go to the pool, park next to the pool. Don't park way over in the parking lot. So there's a lot of design features here to take advantage of the space. The other thing is, recently I met with the Osprey Point folks that have the condos out here. Okay, their concerns were the noise. Concerns were lighting. Concerns were this is open and people going through this area, a lot of noise at night, especially the gentleman who lives here where it gets loud for him. Well, we talked about when we have a plan to put a knee wall here with like a 5-foot vinyl fence above it to give that piece of separation. We were already talking about trying to do that for him anyway. It feeds right into this design. So we're trying to listen to everybody when we're going through this, get all the input, and make the detailed changes to bring the facility that meets everyone's needs. Okay, the other thing I want to point out, the fuel storage tanks, which are right in this area now, are going to slide back. There's an area that's unpaved. You know, as those that may not know, we have a wetland area, we're coastal base, a lot of things you have to worry about when you're doing construction. Shifting that back does two things for us. Okay? First, it's an easier access point for the truck when it pulls up to fill up. They can actually pull right up to the building. I see a couple of folks that work at the marine know exactly what I'm talking about. When a big truck has to come in, and we get delivery set during season 3 days a week. Okay, so we're very, very busy at our marina. This offers a quicker, a better attachment, and we're upgrading the attachment features so we have less storage on our, we're upgrading to the current requirements with our diking, with our damming, with the way it connects, which is actually very, very good. The move is in a space here where it doesn't really disrupt. There's two parking spaces the way it's laid out. And the site plan, just so everybody knows, I've been to the county, went to a pre-bid, I met with the county with an initial sketched up site plan, not nearly detailed, when we were starting this process. Folks Sally County, I met with them 6 months ago. Okay, there were 10 of us in the room from the county going over what we're proposing to do. Everyone said, yeah, that makes sense. You know, of course we're going to get approved. Recently, meeting AWB engineers, got site plan finished, went back down, talked to the county folks. Again, very positive results. They're counting the spaces, they're making sure we're in compliance, making sure, coastal bays, everything that we have to do, everything seems good. The design works. Ted, anything else on here? Yes. This area here in our initial presentation to the board, if those that may have been there or saw it, we had sand filling that spot because we weren't sure if we were going to put decking in, or we didn't know what we were going to do there, how it was going to flow with the rest of the design. Well, one of the neat parts with the Harkins group was their recommendation was to carry everything, all this area in pavers. So the new price, the final bid, the design, everything we put together after all the feedback includes the pavers filling all this space in so it's all matching. And our price does include that. You're going to see that in a few minutes. So we've gone through all the pieces, all the feedback from the board, all the feedback from the committee over the last week and a half, 2 weeks about the design and made those changes. It's going to be hard to see from back there, but I'm going to walk you through the building. This is the actual floor plan. Okay, you come into the portico, the front of the building. If you see the plans moving forward, and Ted and I were joking very late last night about it, it's confusing because the plans are right on top of each other, but we're going, oh, which one are we looking at now? Always look to this. If you see the portico, that's wish you're on the first floor. Just a quick, easy thing. So if you see them laying out and you're trying to figure it out real quick, if it's bent, it's the first floor. You come in, you come through the double doors, okay? When you come in, elevator takes you up to the second floor. Stairwell on each side that takes you up to the second floor. Okay, so when you first come in the door, you go right or left up to a stairwell around, or you go to a couple of steps in your right, you have the elevator. You bypass that, you come straight into the facility here. Things I want to point out. Square footage on the new facility is larger. A lot of folks will go, wow, why so much bigger? Let's talk about some of the items. See this big block right here that's part of the square footage? It's storage. It's non-finished storage space. We have very, very limited storage down there right now. There's double doors on this side and double doors on this side. Double doors on this side face the pool. We're always moving pool furniture, stacking it, stuffing it. Anytime you move furniture, what happens to it? You chip it, you scratch it, you break it. Cost. We're able to take from the pool deck, we have a whole section here where we're able to just, again, like storage, to slide stuff in. Storm comes up. We're tying everything up, trying to wrap it down real quick. It'd be nice to have a double-doored area that we can just slide some of the stuff in so it doesn't get damaged. From the other side, this side of the storage gives us plenty of space for anything in the downstairs area. If we need store extra chairs, if we need extra cables, any of those type of things, we have the storage space. So when we look at the square foot, you say, oh my gosh, we're so much bigger. We've got a big chunk, one big corner in here that has storage space. It's like a big garage for us. Again, we're trying to think of our uses not only today, but into the future, and how do we better think, get smarter about the design of the facility. Come into the facility, you hang a right, and again, you all would not hang a right to a couple of room lights. David, you would. Employee area. Okay, as you come through these double doors, this area has lockers, okay, mechanical area, and a small round table for four to sit and have lunch, dinner, break, whatever it is. We have no break area. How many of you have seen the folks just standing around that probably will break? You don't know. It looks like we're not doing our job. There should be a separate break area. The other thing is, employees come in now, we have nowhere to put their jackets or coats during the cooler months. Nowhere for them to make the change. We've taken that into consideration here. Straight through in this area, this ends up being a loading dock, and this ends up being the closed-off trash receptacle. Straight down the building, and this is where it becomes more interesting to you all, because this is where the patrons come in and use the facility. When you come down to the facility, here's the hostess desk, storage closet, so if you need to hang your jackets in the winter time, whatever, we have the storage there. You come down the hall, this enters into the dining area. To the left here, you come down the hall, we have two restrooms set up. Okay? The initial design and the code allows us to be about 2 toilets short and 3 toilets short here based on the size. But guess what? If we're building the building and we have the space, we decided to put an extra 2 toilets in each of the bathrooms. And that came from some feedback we had. In addition to that, during Wednesday's meeting when we were talking to the board about it, we had 2 females, one board member and one who showed to the board meeting to talk back because she couldn't be here. They said, please don't make the stalls so small that they're tight when you get in. Okay? And I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking about it. And then she went on a little further with it because I thought that was odd. She said, look, well, guys don't care. Guys are, have a different, quick in it. Women, they need a little more space, according to her. Well, what we did, we went back and that wasn't discriminatory. I didn't say, let me watch the video. Went back, talked to Don. I said, Don, are we too tight? Have we squeezed in too much on our space? He said, no, but we can look at part of our design here where the toilets are. He's actually going to move everything down. He's going to get an extra 1.5 feet. These are already just slightly bigger than code. He's going to give everyone another 6 or 8 inches based on how they stretch, because we actually have the room there. So those who have brought it up, we are listening and we're trying to be accommodating. There's no cost to do it. It's just making it a little more convenient, a little more user-friendly for all of us. Other things, when you come in, kitchen is here. The kitchen is a Savoy Brown design. They're a kitchen designer. They're in the Baltimore area. This is what they do for a living. This is one of their designs. Now, they are what they, neat part about that, they came in last week. They met with us. They walked through. They spent, David, what would you say, 3 hours? 3 or 4 hours at least in our current facility. They are looking at, they have the design first and second floor. AWB works with Savoy Brown with Water. They use them for their kitchen design. They're going to our facility and they've looked at every piece of equipment, okay? And what was neat about it, Rob, one of their salespeople, were coming down. He couldn't make it. Ted Savoy, one of the owners, one of the principals, actually came down to do it. So I got to meet with him. Really great guy. He started walking through, looking at it. He had a measuring tape. He sketched out our current kitchen, and he went through and spent hours going through every piece of equipment, identifying the condition, seeing what they felt was broken. They were working with our kitchen staff, working with them to see what we have in our kitchen, because we do have some good equipment in there. What's good? What's salvageable? What would require a $50 or $100 fix to get it into condition versus buying all new? So that's what we're trying to figure out, what we can use from our existing facility and the new structure. Again, trying to be smart about what we do. So we're going through that. They're picking out. They're going to give us a real good report on what we need. And the other thing, in talking with them, which I thought was really neat, not only do they're not selling you because it's through AWB. We're paying the consultant to do the work. But what they're going to do is tell us what else. Hey, Bob, this is a 5-year lifespan. This real unit, you have 10 years based on its current condition. We'll be very, very smart about our kitchen moving forward. Not only what we have, what we need to replace, but what parts we may have to add to them moving in the future. So again, we're trying to think economically through the whole process. Okay, we've talked about the bathrooms, talked about the hostess, talked about the coat rack, kitchen area. All right, come through the double doors, dining area. Okay, a couple things I want to point out. Listening to some of the feedback this week. Flow out of the kitchen, there's a door here, doors here out into the dining area. This area is supposed to serve this side of the building. Well, if you do that, are you zigzagging through? Oh, yeah, that was a good point someone picked up. We put a knee wall or a 4-foot wall here. Out this kitchen door, it takes you down, around, and out to the side. Very, very easy flow. And again, everything for us with the new design, flow, does it work, and FYI, can we do it economically? So a lot of pieces. I don't mean to go into so much detail, but I think it's important to know what the new facility and what the differences are versus what we've had and what we currently have. Come through the double doors. You have this for the kitchen staff, seating area. Okay, the front. Down here, the wall. You saw the doors. I hope most of you saw the doors and windows when you came in, the wooden Anderson doors there. What we have in the front of the building are 16-foot sliding doors. We looked at the initial design was to take this whole front and do either 1 or 2 pieces of the collapsible doors. They look great. You can fold it, you can pretty much open that whole wall up. Went up, we took a look at those, and let me tell you, they were beautiful. Terribly expensive. Okay, working with Don, I said, Don, I don't know. He said, let me show you a couple other things. Working with the Anderson folks, we ended up with the sliding doors, and we saw them in there, a lot less expensive to put those in. The other thing that comes to mind when you think about those doors, who's going to really be opening and closing those doors? Maybe not the first year, but here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 years down the road. It's your staff. It's your waiter or waitress. Someone's cold, someone's hot. We're closing up at night. If you've got this big door, and I don't care what, I know Anderson told me, and they're not here. I know they told me 20 or 30 years. I'm telling you, after 15, 20 years, those doors are going to be heavy, it's going to be so hard to move them, and someone's going to be fighting to slide them. Sliders, because the way they're attached, a lot easier to operate. Some of the brakes, you got one or two components on that door to fix. It's just a better fit for us long term. Again, trying to be more economical in the way we look at it. Sure, it'd be nice to have it, open that whole front up, but it just didn't economically make sense. So we went down to the sliders. Still beautiful, and it gives us the effect we're looking for, but gives us more flexibility on the use of the building. Ease of use long term. Who's going to be using it? How does it work for us? All those things were considered. Okay, out the front here, doors that come out. This area here is covered by the upper floor. Bar, accessible by this, accessible by here, doors here. It's an indoor-outdoor. I say indoor-outdoor. It's not your traditional free-season room. But indoor-outdoor, we can open it or close it up. We can use it. The space, every part of our design within this facility is to use the space efficiently. We're able to use it multiple ways. Ted, have I missed anything on the first floor except the harbor master?
Yeah. The one other.
Microphone?
The one other thing we looked at is that this facility serves not only the people that are in the yacht club, but it also serves the pool. And one of the things we wanted to do is to have a separate entrance here so that if somebody was in a bathing suit coming over from the yacht, from the pool, they weren't walking through the middle of where everybody was sitting down and eating. And we also, as you know, with our current situation, you go in and you got a whole series of doors. So this corridor here allows somebody to access the restrooms here without walking through any of the dining areas. So we tried to say, hey, keep the people that are eating away from the people that are swimming here. So you can get in either way, and people that are dining go right through here and have access to the same restrooms that they go through. So we tried to think about the uses of the outside feeding the building as well as we went in. The one other thing up here, this is the harbor master's office in here, and what happens if you went back to the site plan, that current harbor master's office gets destroyed. So we've incorporated it right into this building here as part of the first floor elevator.
Architects grabbing me, pointing out, remember to tell them no columns, no columns. I was going to wait till I got to the second floor, but I'll make sure I say it. No columns, I got it. No columns on the first floor or second floor. We can use the space as efficiently, move the tables around any way we see that we want to use it. Okay, second floor. Dave, you killed me with the feedback, brother. Okay. Second floor. You come up the second floor, and either up the stairwell or the elevator, you can actually look down to the first floor foyer. Come through, set of doors here. We can either leave them open or we can close them off. One of the things I want to make sure everybody understands, part of the design with the doors here and here allow us in the wintertime to completely close the floor off. Winterize it, close it off, so don't have everything running full total load. That's part of our issue now, how we're using the space inefficiently. We're able to segregate the two areas. Come in. Okay, kitchen area is directly here, right here. Hostess area, coat area, restroom area, similar design. There's a difference we pick up here. Okay, off of the women's bathroom is a bridal suite. Okay, off of the men's bathroom is a bridal suite. I made the mistake at the town hall meeting, those that were here, and said, oh, that's the groom's room. Apparently with a wedding, there's no such thing. Okay, it's all bridal suite. She just allows them to use that. It happens to be off of the bathroom of the men's room, but there's a door here, so this allows for the weddings, the other types of events and activities we have. This is something that we built into the design of the facility. We have, when you come through, okay, let's start right here in this corner. You see the big L here, storage area. again, we try to keep in mind storage. Upstairs, we have the big round banquet tables, okay? Most people don't like those. If you're trying to go to dinner with 4 of you, you don't want to set an 8 or 10 top table. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Our current design, we're rolling tables inside and outside all the time. Part of just the damage to, you're banging walls, you're tearing up the tables, the whole 9 yards. We have double doors into the main dining room with plenty of storage here where we're able to store the full-away tables, we're able to store the extra chairs, those type of things not only keep it safer, keep the equipment in better shape, ease of use, which means we can quickly break the room down, put the room back together in multiple different ways for multiple uses. Everything when the board said, hey, look, we want the yacht club to be our primary facility, one of the things, if you go back and look at the 10-year task force, the Duke Stevens report, talk about how we're going to use the facility, all the different uses. That's the facility that we should have designed and scale because of the different ways we use it. But if we're going to use it differently, we need different types of equipment, different types of tables and chairs. We built in space to accommodate that. Okay, main dining room. Thing I want to point out here. Center area is a cathedral-type ceiling, but the bigger thing, dance floor. People have said, well, where's the dance floor? Where's the band do? If we do this, what happens? Really, really cool part about it, it's an all-wood floor. Everything here is wood, which means if our bands, we want to put it here, we put it here. If we want to put the band here, we put it here. If we want the dance floor to be here, here, or here, we can do it any way we want. It's accommodating. Wooden floor, you've pretty much got it covered. So we have multiple areas there. We have multiple ways to reconfigure that to any use we want. The other thing, I don't know if you can see it back there. See the black dots? They're kind of a little bit rectangular here and here, with the dotted line here. These are actually dividers, so we can subdivide the space. Okay. What we've decided to do initially is we talked to the builder about putting the beams in. They're going to be I believe we set out a steel beam with wood trim around it so it matches. And we've been looking at a number of different pricing for these sliding dividers. We're electing to put the infrastructure in now. So if later we decide we want to subdivide the room into 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3, we can order the dividers to do so. The reason we're not going to order the dividers themselves, we're going to put the beams in, so all we have to do is make the attachment at that point, is we're not 100% sure how much of what size of the facility we're going to need. If we put them in, we're locked in at the time. But it's very, very economical to put the beams in now, so later if we decide we want to divide the room, we can order the dividers and have them put in. In addition to that, because the first and second floor can be completely closed down, separated, 2 separate areas, how much subdividing? I thought right now, I'm talking with David at length about this, we may only need 1. To give us 1 smaller area and then leave 1 bigger. It could be on either side. But we just don't know yet. Again, the referendum hasn't passed, and B, we're building not only today, but for the future. So we're trying to think about these things as we design the structure. Okay, the all wood, so it accommodates everything. We have what we've done is we've duplicated the bar, first and second floor. Okay, it allows for so economically, it's so much easier. When everything's the same, the bathroom, same place upstairs and down. We're trying to think smart for the construction, which helps us with our cost, also helps us with how we're going to use it. Current bar situation we have. Those that don't know, if you drink, I hate to kind of give our dirty laundry, but we get so much of it in the paper anyway, so much we'll share with it. The kegs are on one side of the building versus where the taps are. So when you go to get a beer, you get a funny keg sometimes because it may be the beer that was running in the lines. David's trying to get the kegs moved closer so we don't have that issue. We thought about that. New bar, the kegs are stored in the bar area where they should be. Little things like that that you're not seeing that you don't know about, that we know why we're having some difficulty. We've made these large enough in the design of it to house those type of things. Other really neat part on the second floor, see the double doors out, deck area, stairwell down. opening all the way around with the doors and windows. If someone said, hey, we want to have a cocktail hour, or we want to have a small, I want to host a small event, really, we could close these doors so folks from the inside and do a private party up the stairs and right into this. It's big enough to be able to do a small 15, 20, 30-person cocktail hour. Again, we're trying to think of the best way so we can get multiple uses out of the facility. Kitchen design, there is, and I didn't point out downstairs, there is an elevator in the kitchen, a service elevator. What that allows us to do, obviously, is move stuff from up or down without having to bump into the patrons coming through, without having, if you're bringing a food product up or down, I mean, it's just service elevator makes a lot more sense. The kitchen design has the service elevator built in. Right above the harbor master, we have the second floor. This floor is actually going to be our business offices. Right now, we have it divided into two. Our initial thought is where we do a lot of weddings, we do a lot of those type of events, having a small space here with a little coffee table where you put the wedding album, that type of thing. So once folks come and see the facility, they have a spot to sit and actually talk to people about it. In addition to our staff, there's plenty of space here to divide it up for our staff to work. Outside deck area, second floor. Ted, did I miss anything here? Okay, let's talk about, I'm going to move just because I'm seeing if I not get under the speaker. Okay, Harkins, here's the cost of the new building. I'm trying to get out of your way. Is that better? Sorry, I felt like I was standing right in this corner's way. Okay, here's the revised bid, the base price. We've been working with them over the last 2 weeks since the board said go with it, tightening up the number. We've done that. We had to deduct, because it's separate, the 172 for the architectural part of it. Okay, so we're pulling it out. We're going to put it back in, so don't think we're pulling it out to drop numbers. I'll show you where it comes in. Builder's risk policy. We took it out when we leveled the bids because we were trying to see, again, we're trying to do everything as efficiently and smartly as we can. We're working with our insurance company to see if we could do an addition to our current policy and get builder's risk cheaper. As it turns out, we found out yesterday it's not cheaper. It's cheaper to let them carry it, so we threw back in what they did for the builder's risk policy. Bond adjustment. Because this number comes out, it lowers the overall price, so there's a bond adjustment. So we put that into account. And again, they're little numbers. These two are little numbers. We're talking $4 million, but every little bit counts to it. And we're trying everywhere we can to save money. Then you go, all right, so then we have the subtotal, 5% contingency. Very, very different than the 20% contingency that we budgeted in for the rehab. Well, guess what? You don't need as big a contingency when you're doing a new construction because you've done all this prior work and you know what you're getting. The contingencies, if something comes up, a permit or something to make a change or what have you, you need to have some fund set aside for anything that comes up so we're not surprised by anything. So it brings our total $3,900,000. That's not it, though. Just making sure the limits. We're going to give you all the numbers today, folks. There shouldn't be any surprises. Other areas. Big thing that a lot of people have been asking about furniture, replacing furniture. We looked at pricing for furniture. Anyone here who's ever bought furniture knows all kinds of price differential. No matter what you get, where you get, all that. We basically took the number, if we asked Dave, said, give me a price to replace everything with new. Just everything new. He said, really, it's just do it. Then we have our number. Everything new was about $120,000, I think is what we came up with. Isn't that right, David? Said, okay, we don't need to replace everything. I just need to have worst case scenario what the number was. So we said, okay, over time in our replacement fund, we replace furniture, we replace everything in the association. We talked about how the reserve funds work and those type of things. What we did, so we don't need to replace everything. We need to be reasonable about this. So he's been looking at all our furniture, things we can do. Paint the black chairs, put a new seat cover on, as an example. Those type of things so we can more economically put this together. But realistically, we're still going to need some more furniture. So we just take it almost in third, and we said, okay, let's add a third to it, realistically, getting new furniture, a third of it now makes sense. So we put the price in. Relocating the pipe. This is for, when we said we're moving the marina, we have the piping that goes across the parking lot there. We're working with Jones and Frank. They've been out. We've looked at it several times. They're the folks who do the inspections for us. They're the ones who recommend. They come out and check our pumps once a year, make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. We don't have any leaks, those type of things. They're actually working with Don at Harkins to come up with a plan. We had to put that budget number in. Kitchen hoods and install. We're moving, again, we know we have our kitchen hoods, for those that don't know it, are not that old. They're in decent shape. We're gonna relocate those. Now, when you relocate them to a new kitchen, you may have to extend them a little, you may have to shrink them a little bit. We've already talked to the company about it, but put them in for us, they can do that. And they give us a number based on what our kitchen looks like, of how they can pull the old out and reinstall it for us. Signage, miscellaneous, wiring, phones, etc. This is, again, we're trying to make sure we're thinking about everything. Well, obviously, when you do a new building, you move your phones. Well, what Don and his group are doing is they're putting all the drops for us, but it's all up to us to get the phones, have the phone company come in and install, put the system back in for us. We put that in. Disconnect, remove, install. This is for all the kitchen equipment, all the pieces and components. We realize we're going to have to do those things, so we put some money for it. Ansel system. Okay, this is for the fire suppression system. A lot of folks say, "Whoa, isn't that in the hood?" It is. And we could have easily thrown it in and brought the number down, but realistically, the hoods are what removes it, the air flows out, the Ansel dumps the agent down on it. We separated it and we plussed it up a little to make sure we didn't have a mistake there. Again, not a perfect science, but we really are trying to make this real. Get all the numbers as exact as we can so there's no surprises. That total, $241,800. Harkins bid, 5% contingency. These are both the fire slides. Other than 241. Referendum material, $4,141,922. That, as it is today, that's where the referendum number would be. So wait a minute, Bob, you lowered it. Remember, we pulled the 172 design out. Well, that's why in big print, so I'm not hiding anything, everybody sees it, right? In big print, this is the cost all in for the project, 4.3. Now, this is the cost as of today. I say as of today because part of the public hearing is not only to hear your input, some are going to be happy, some are not, but to take some of those, as we've done with every meeting, we hear what you say, we go back, we'll sit back down with Don, we'll sit back down with Kevin, and we'll say, okay, look, we missed something here, we want to change this, we want to change that. That's what gets finalized next week after input from today. Next Wednesday, we sit back down with the board, and we have all the board members are in town now, and I see Dan Stukursky, Terry Moore, who are here with us as well. So I've already introduced them. So I didn't introduce you guys, I didn't see you earlier. So we're going to they're all here to hear the feedback from you all. Today, we're going to go back and noodle back through it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, have a meeting Wednesday, and do the final, which means that final number could change a little bit one way or the other based on any input we have. It may be rock solid. It may be, hey, we've got what we want. That's what we're putting out for you guys. When I say rock solid, doesn't mean it's a cheap number. I'm saying that's what goes out. It's up to you all if you do it or not. Okay. The other thing that's come up lately quite a bit was, it's so big. Do we really need banquets? Do we really do all these other things? Mr. Gomsak had put together a talking point on it, but it was a little too detailed. I kind of tried to make it real simple. I thought I'd point some facts out that those who have not been in some of the meetings, who haven't read the information, how some of this works for us. And I actually had a real long talk with David, got a lot smarter on banquet business, catering type of business. Here are the types of functions and events we had here in Ocean Pond. At our yacht club facility, at our country club, at our beach club, the majority is done at the yacht club. Weddings, anniversaries, rehearsal dinners. And anybody knows Pete Gonsack, he said 100 bereavements, and he gets excited. I'm not real excited about bereavements. But the truth of the matter is, it's nice to know when you need the facility, it's there. So, again, I want to make sure we have a lot of community organization, community functions there. all kinds of different things happen at the yacht club, more than most people realize. What does that mean to us? Well, banquet business is significant. In the last 3 years, we went back and looked at what our numbers actually meant to us. Over 400 functions at the yacht club. Over 3,000 people have been in there with those functions, with events, activities, weddings, group outings. Over $1 million in revenue in 3 years on the yacht club. Okay? Banquet capability. It's easy to take shots, folks. If after the end we'll talk so everybody can hear it. Banquet capability primarily serves OPA membership. It came up early on in January when we were doing town hall meeting. We don't need it. It's for why do we want outsiders in here? Which is really odd because our community is made up from outsiders. Let's face it, no one was born here. Well, I say that. My daughter's sitting in the back. Sorry, honey, you were here. But the majority of us were not born here. We're all migrating to the community. But the facts are 80% of our functions are OPA members or their relatives. 80%. 95% of all non-wedding events are OPA member related. Just some statistics you need to know. Who uses the club? We use the club. 5-year average. Someone said, well, what's the cost? Let me just give you an idea of what the cost to operate the facility is. We did a 5-year average. Started going back to look because it is important to know what its cost is. It's what our food costs are right now, over 5-year average. Dave, we're trying to get to 42 this year, right? It's tough you being here. I got a little sounding board. I appreciate it. Regular beverage costs us about 26% on average. We're a little lower than that right now, but that's what the 5-year average. Labor costs 47, way too high. Okay, these are what are eating us up. But we're looking at 5-year average. History is what it is. I can't change it. It is what it is. It's factual that I can share with you. Now, they said, okay, banquet, what's the cost? Let's talk about that. Food costs you 25%. Beverage costs 0.4%. Labor costs 9%. Significantly different. You say that can't be true. We looked at it. Right? Did we not go over the numbers in detail? Wanted to make sure it's factual for you guys. Point it out. Think about it. A la carte means you have to have staff on to make all kinds of prep, all kinds of product. You have to have all kinds of things ready. A la carte with a single order or something off that menu, many different items. Conversely, with a banquet, you've made your selection before you're coming. All the prep we do ahead of time. We know how much to buy. We know how many steaks, how many crab cakes, whatever it is. How many green beans we're ordering. We know that. It's set. Less prep time, less staff time. We're able to manage our costs more efficiently. Talking with David, and again, part of hiring David, I hate to keep leaning on, but the truth of the matter is we said we're going to lean heavily on our new yacht club man. Has a lot of country club, started at Ritz-Carlton, those who don't know his background, that was his first venue into hospitality, and he's been recently with 3 different country clubs, and each step up in the New York area. I don't hold that against him until he brings the Giants up. This is not a Redskin fan. We're having battles already. He thinks the new awning up front is a Giants awning. I'm telling you, it's not. It came off the beach club. But one of the things that came up, I think it's like that. One of the things coming up was all David's past experiences. His country clubs that he managed, most of the a la carte dining was offset by the cater business because the margins are so much stronger on the cater business. It helped carry the load for the a la carte business. Wasn't that something? We have a guy who's far more experienced than any of us running facilities that's saying, yes, catering business, banquet business is a good business. It helps carry the load to offset some of the things. So we've, in past, been very, very good at it. Last few years we haven't because what do we say? We're going to shut down, we're going to rebuild, we're going to renovate. So when you book a wedding, you're booking a year, 18 months out. We've lost a lot of those. What are we getting? At least, what you tell me the other day, 2 calls a day for weddings? Banquets in general, several a day we're getting calls for. Okay, it's there, folks. Internal and external, but mostly internal. Okay. Covered the banquets. The other thing I slide, and I pulled it out, I moved some slides around. If it pops up, I'll say oops. But it showed we did real detailed analysis of all the other catering facilities, all the other hotels and stuff in the Ocean City, West Ocean City area. It showed where our pricing was, size of the facility, how many seats. So if you want that information, I can always show that to you. Okay, we've talked about a little bit about the facility, we've talked about the design, we've talked about the banquets, because that was a big question we had, so I tried to point those out. Talk about how we're going to fund the new facility. Your assessment. I brought this up recently at the board meeting, someone said, hey, why don't we share this when we get to the big meeting? Our assessment, pretty much when you write your check every year, it comes into us, it goes into three different areas, three piggybacks, okay? Operations, historical reserves, 5 years, okay? Operationally, okay, we've been running the last 3 years, I put the last 2 of where we're running from the operational side of the house. We're in a surplus. It means we're operating, here's our budget, we're operating more efficiently than our budget. Everybody understand that? Now, this number, the 140 this year, that's unaudited right now. There will be a change this year because, as everyone knows, we have the IRS situation looming over us that's going to eat that up. But it doesn't change the fact operationally, we ran efficiently. Okay, talk about your assessment. The reason this is important, the candidates running for the board recently, there's one that's did his report card that looked really neat. I've had at least a dozen people come in and go, why aren't we ever showing it that way? So I said, you know what? I don't have to come up with it, man. It's a good thing. Let me just bring it up so everybody understands where your assessment, just a quick breakdown because it goes into how we're funding the new facility. It's important you know that. First, Fire Police CMS, $199 of your $872 this year goes to fund that. All other operating departments, the building, the people, all the other things that are happening are paid out of this 313. So that's 512. Okay? I'm going quick because I know this isn't like fun stuff. Amenities. This is what's interesting about amenities. And I've got to tell you, Sharon, you're the one that came, you're the one that, I hate to say it, but you're the one that came up and said, hey, Sharon here would like the board, the amenities breakdown. She says, Bob, why don't you ever say this? So I'm sharing it. Okay, I thought this was a good idea. Golf, including Turns Grill, cost us $19. It's out of your assessment. Yacht Club cost us $6. Aquatics $6. Tennis $1. Beach parking, see the bracket? Not costing us anything, it's a plus. Marinas is a plus. Beach clubs are a plus. End of the day, our assessments are reduced by $35. Add the amenities up, as a whole, they're making money. Hear me on that. Amenities are making money. It's an important concept. People say, oh, yacht clubs are losing money, country golf's are losing money, shut them down. Think about it. Holistically, our amenities are making money. It's part of why we're here. I think it's an important thing to point out. $35 reduction in your assessment. Sir, wait, sir, I gave the rules ahead. I'll be happy to answer any. Please let me finish. Because what will happen, it'll be the flurry and we won't get through it. That's all. All right. New capital, reserves, loan repayments, and elimination of the operating deficit that we had incurred. We chip away those. There's 396. This is the big one you want to look at. In total, operating expenses, amenities, so it's a deduct, that's why the brackets. The other cost, $873, there's your assessment. Okay? I wanted to make sure I broke that down. 5-year funding plan. I've had a lot of people say, well, Yacht Club, we're going to have a special assessment for $1.3 million. I don't know how you're doing this. I've really been trying to doodle through it. I can talk to you all day. I like numbers. How do I make it simple so everyone can look at it and go, okay, this makes sense to me? 5 bullets, very simple. 4 years ago, the board started on path. We've heard the 5-year funding plan. I hope most of you have heard it. It's in your assessment now. We're on year 4 now. Next year will be year 5 of the funding plan. Here's how that's working for us right now. Year 1, we ended up $220,000 into this reserve account. Year 2 went to $440. Again, next year's increase. Third year it increased, 660. This money is being carved out of your assessment and put into this piggy bank. Year 5, we're up to 8, or year 4, we're up to 880. That's the year we're in now. That's with the 873 assessment. Year 5, $1.1 million. Now, anybody says, well, wait a minute, Bob, it's really 882,000 and change. I agree. You got me. I'm not lying about it. I just rounded off for easy numbers. I'm trying to make it simple. Okay? Part of our assessment, and this wasn't my idea, this was 5 years ago, board recognized the need to start, we need to start replacing our infrastructure. They took a pretty big step and said, how are we going to do it? They developed a plan, a strategy to slowly start to build that account up, the piggy bank, so we can fund these type of projects. So, what happens at the year 5? It levels off. So now we're putting approximately $1 million a year into a reserve account that pays for the association needs from the major structures. This building, yacht club, country club, beach club. Those type of things will be paid for out of this assessment. So, someone says, well, you're proposing a $4+ million project, we're going to have a large assessment. You're not. Thank goodness the board 5 years ago said, well, we need to do something different. Developed a plan, and we've stuck to that plan. We're putting money away to pay for the project. But one more year, assuming the board will approve in next year's budget, the remaining $30 increase is 5-year funding plan. It levels off from there. No more assessment increases for the reserve component of it. It levels, the money's put away into the savings account that uses to pay the facility. So there will not be a large assessment increase to cover the facility. It's built in. Right. Important dates before I wrap up and start taking some of the questions. What's going to happen following this meeting next week? We're going to meet with the board. We're going to take their feedback today. We're going to talk about it. We're going to come up with a plan. For August 10th, and between then and August 10th, we're finalizing the material that's going to go out to you for your ballot to vote. They're going to go out. They're going to be due back on September 6th. That's a Thursday. It's after Labor Day. And the 7th, they'll be counted. Someone asked me this morning, how are they going to be announced? Honestly, I haven't thought that before. I mean, I'm sure the local paper's going to cover it. I'm sure. No. Yeah, so you all know. It'll be there. So we'll count it. We'll get the results, and I'm sure, they'll get out. Right now, we're already working with the county. We submitted with the site plan approval. Again, part of this process is we're trying to get all these I's dotted, T's crossed. The cost going to the county is approximately, I think we're all in for $1,300 right now, $1,300. Does that sound right? You got it? Yeah, it's about $1,300 for the site, the TRC, the technical review committee, the planning commission, final approval. There's some steps. We've already started that process. And then we could begin as early as October on the new structure. Okay. Now, what I'm going to ask is, I know there's going to be a lot of questions. I'm going to ask you to come up to the mic, which is right here, state your name, okay, ask your question. And the primary reason, we want everyone to benefit from all the Q&A, okay? Here comes the line. Ted?
Yeah, comment.
Oh, wait, come on.
Is that on?
Doesn't matter.
It's all about you.
Figured every time I go in front of my house.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My question, or my statement. My question, can you hear me in this? This is not.
It's on. Your mouth as close to it as you get. Right up to it.
My question and statement really is to the folks out here. I own 2 lots, and I pay 2 assessments, so I'm going to take a little longer since I paid 2 assessments to say what I have to say.
Sir.
My name is Steve Hafner. I live on 6 Fairway Lane, Ocean Pines. Don't throw mud at my house when you go by. Here is my thought. So far at this point, we've spent, give or take a few bucks, $900,000 for grass at the golf course. We have $1 million plus amount of money to pay the IRS for the beach parking fiasco. We have approximately 1.3 million in the hole, which can go up or down based on the people, the homeowners, for a variety of reasons that have not been able to pay their assessments. Could be because they're broke, they don't have enough food to eat, whatever. Whole lot of variety of reasons. That's money also. Here we're talking about $4.2 million for the yacht club to rebuild a new one. This is up around $7-8 million for this amount. You guys have to really think this out as to whether we really can afford something like this. Now, the only question I have is to you folks. Who counts the ballots? Who? What company, independent company counts them?
The elections committee is, can you hear me? The elections committee would count the ballots. They're the ones counting the ballots for the board election, right? It's underway right now, and they're also going to count the referendum ballots.
Okay, and are they unsealed on that day, September 7th? Or
Yes.
somebody opens them?
No. There's a whole process with board ballots.
So some of these people out here could come and watch. If they so chose to.
They don't watch the ballot. I'm going to have the parliamentarian of the board answer that. If you don't mind it.
We have the current liaison here too.
Oh, Dan.
Turned it off.
Where's Dan?
It's on the bottom.
Hey, you're the liaison for the elections committee. Can you explain how the ballot process will work?
We use an outside vendor to print our ballots, to take our mailing list that we set up, to mail those ballots so that you receive the kind of package that you just got in the mail with the regular election ballots and proxy statement. Those are returned to Ocean Pine sealed. The vendor picks those up, breaks the seals on them so that there's no connection between the ballot and the envelope that has an address on it, delivers those ballots to Ocean Pines. The Ocean Pines Election Committee and this gentleman who was sitting right here, our technical advisors, sit down and run them through a computer counting machine. And that's the count. The election committee also decides if there is an issue on a ballot, somebody marked something and didn't quite get it erased or things like that, whether it's a valid ballot or not, and we'll hand count some of them. So that there a process you can watch? It takes about, for a regular election with maybe 4,000 or so ballots coming in, it takes about 40 minutes to run those ballots through this machine and count. If you want to be there to watch 40 minutes worth of a machine counting ballots, I'm quite sure Judy Butler, who's the chairperson of the committee, can arrange to have you there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let me answer, and let me just answer one other question. What's that?
Feel free.
Thank you.
No problem.
No, I just want to make sure I answer it together with the IRS, sir. We're computing and working with our attorneys and our tax folks to get the final number. Okay, so just you had mentioned the number. It's going to be less than that. I just can't give you the final number yet. We're hoping in the next few weeks to have that information. Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Janicek. I own 3 properties in the Pines, 17 Lookout Point, 26 Lookout Point, 3 Park Place. So I'm going to take 3 questions if it's okay. 1 for each property. My first question is, I have a question about you guys going to permitting and going and doing all the architectural drawings and everything, and spending 172 or whatever, a little less, before the referendum goes out. Why don't you go to referendum? You knew how much it was going to be a month ago. Why didn't you just go ahead and send out the referendum with some pretty pictures and the bells and whistles and find out whether the populace was going to approve it first, rather than spending the money at the county and other levels before it got approved or disapproved? Thank you very much. Hello. Go ahead.
All right, we're required, when we put the ballot material together, to give you factually what we're doing. The board is asking the membership to vote on it. You have to have the design, the layout, everything specific. It needs to be very specific when the referendum goes out to exactly what we're doing. That's what you're going to vote on.
Right.
We couldn't just put a concept, because you're right, we had a concept together. We couldn't just put a concept out there because we could have changed it 100 times after it came in. We have to give you factually. The board has to give you the opportunity to vote on exactly what they were doing.
No, I understand that. I understand, but you had that. You had that in the drawings that were in the paper a month ago, correct?
Let me add one thing.
Go ahead.
What would have happened had this association voted to go forward with the building?
Yep.
And we walked into the county, and the county said, you can't put the building there. You can't move the building there. You can't relocate the fuel tank. You need to build a parking garage. All of a sudden, everybody sitting in here would have gone, you told us you were building this, and now you're not. So some of the upfront money has to be spent, which we've done and been down to the county to, number one, make sure what we're proposing that the association votes on is going to be okay with the county. Because it would be crazy for us to go out and have everybody approve a referendum, get down to the county, and the county says, oh, no, you can't do it. So that's part of it.
I understand. Don't you have a 5% contingency in there just for that, for things that change within the plan and things that change within the construction? At that, I mean, you could use it for that. I mean, that's what I don't get. Because it's kind of like the community center all over again. You're sending everybody, you're getting the construction people in, you're getting everything set up, and then if it doesn't pass, we're out all that money. I know 172 is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's money nonetheless.
But remember, when we built this building,
All right.
we entered into 2 contracts. Before it ever went to referendum, we entered into a contract to proceed with drawings and go to the county on this building as well. So there was risk when we built this building as well. We went with Lehman, we signed a Phase A contract, which was the design of this building, prior to ever going to referendum. So we've done it before. The other thing, we've talked to them, we're not going to spend all 172. If on September, whatever that date is, it comes back, no, we stop at that point. But there were some upfront things we needed to do to go to the county to get going. Now, you can also look at it, if you say, okay, let's spend our contingency on that, the contingency is $158,000 versus $172. At some point, you were going to spend some money.
No, I understand. And I apologize. I wasn't talking about this community center. I was talking about the one over next to the
Yeah,
veterans.
but I want to give you a real life thing where we did exactly what we're doing here, albeit different dollars.
I
We
understand.
did the exact same thing on this building, so it's not anything new.
Okay. My second question for my other property. You're building all of this, and frankly, it's a white elephant in the pond. I've been here for 28 years. I've been to the yacht club. Do you have any chance, have you put together, I know you have a new manager, have you put together any semblance of a business plan that can show us why you can even break even? Not even make money, just break even. I mean, is it closing it down in the off season? Is it more catering, which I agree we should have catering, but you're going to put a $4.2 million building out there, and we can't even break even with a building now that we don't pay rent on. There's no rent. I mean, there's no overhead other than labor, which is ungodly. I can't believe we're paying 47% labor. And food costs, I can't believe we're paying that. I mean, how can do you have any proposal that shows me how you're going to work? I've been in business for 40 years. How you're going to work to do all this to actually make it worthwhile building this building?
Yes, we have, and it's a good question. We've actually developed a basic business plan. It's in the board's hand right now. Wednesday, I presented it to the board.
It's not that one from the Indian restaurant in Atlanta, is it?
Am I answering? Are you going to be? Let me answer.
asking before you.
No,
Okay,
you
thank you.
haven't seen it because there were 7 handed out, the board has it.
Okay.
I've asked the board to go express interest in the business plan as well, to assist wherever they think we need to add or take away. A couple things you need to remember though, when you're developing a business plan, okay, and I've been in business a long time as well, so I understand this. A good business plan is very, very important. A couple things you need to know. A, we needed the expert from the food and beverage. I've said that for almost a year now. When we get our food and beverage manager with the background, he's going to help us tighten up the business plan. And he has. There are a lot of things he's taught me and showed me about it. That's in the new plan. Secondly, the design or the basic layout helps us. We knew what we were looking for catering and some of the other types of uses, talking with him to finalize, say, how do we now, will this structure meet those needs? And if so, how are we going to service those needs? So yes, all that's been part of it. Lastly, when you're talking about the design, and we haven't been making money off of it, think about it. Catering was a big part of our business. Up until 3 years ago, we started back and forth on the building, and we dropped from 36% down to 23% on catering, just from the percentage of the club used towards catering. However, in the last 2 years, our number has actually gone up from the regular food, regular beverage. So we are starting to turn some things around to run it more efficiently. You're absolutely right, the expenses have been too high. I've said it at every meeting, every time it comes up, I agree with you. Labor costs should be 42 or below. Our first year, we're trying to go to 42. The next year, we're trying to get to 38%. Don't know if we'll get there, but that industry standard is around that. Okay? So yes, we are looking at all of it.
Now, wasn't it the board or your suggestion 2-3 years ago to close that down because we're going to rebuild it? That's why we lost all that catering business? Because I remember, I don't know, I just read the papers, that's the only information I get. But is it, somebody closed it down because they thought we were going to rebuild it over the winter, and we lost all of the catering business for the next spring, all the weddings.
There have been a lot of different decisions over the last few years, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
That's correct.
Okay, and, all right, my last one. I got one more house, so I'm good. The last thing, you show all the deterioration and all of the big, huge pictures out there, got somebody caulking up non-horse boards, whatever they're doing. If it is this bad, so bad that you're walking around the outside with screwdrivers, poking holes in everything, how is it still open? How can you still have people?
No, that's a great question. That's why we did the engineering study, and that's why we did a very invasive study. We're safe to operate the structure. We've got about another 12 months. When we started, if you recall, and maybe you don't, when we first stepped into this role, we started looking at that facility underneath. And this goes back to other board members, other people that were involved crawling under the building to see. We had to develop a strategy to prop the building up. Okay? There's the beams underneath, the pilings, that's what's rotting underneath that hold the infrastructure of it. They're rotting. Every year we have someone going over the building to evaluate where they are. We've had to extend. We've had to sister up. That's basically those who may have seen it in some of my other reports. We sister up with 2 beams down. We have to dig down below. So we are keeping it safe to operate, but we're not going to be able to do it much longer. Every fix we've done has been temporary with those. So we are showing up. It's safe. It's safe to operate. I have the engineering report, separate engineering study saying, yes, sistering it like this keeps us safe. But it's a short-term solution for it.
Okay, well, I just have to go on record that I'm not pro building. I want a new yacht club. That's fine. I understand. I'm not pro spending $4.3 million on a restaurant that you can't run. If I could see the business plan, maybe that would change my mind. And I know, like where I've talked to him, and I know that his first statement was when I talked to him about it a year and a half, 2 years ago, was they need to run it first. Need to make money. He started out with a shack on a beach as a private club for 5 years. And what he had, more than anything in the world, he had service and good food. And I know Dave's been here a while. I've been there for the last 3 weekends. And I'll just tell you, personal experience, the service hasn't gotten any better. I'm sorry. Ma'am, I was there. I had a friend who was there Thursday night. I'll talk to Dave about it privately. I'm not going to talk about it now. But it hasn't changed enough to make me think that this is what we should do. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm Bill McCulley. I live on Ocean Parkway, one of the first 2 homes that was built in here. Thank goodness it's not in the condition of the yacht club. I also own a lot in Windjammer, the largest one if someone wants to buy it. There in the golf course there. I don't know if anybody has given any consideration, but it's apparent we need a ton of money. We have what you say to be one of the finest locations. In other words, could we sell it? Could we sell it for $20 million? Require the person who buys it to take your plan and build us that $5 million yacht club and assume all liabilities. We would then have the $20 million to take into our renovations and do everything else, and it wouldn't cost us any money, and you would reduce our costs. That I think is a little ridiculous, because when you own a lot, I really think that, you know, when you're paying $800 or whatever it is, just to own the lot, to not use anything, and then you got water assessment, in which you don't have, and that's $200 a year you're paying. It's just a little bit of a rip. Okay, if there was $150 a year, as it is across probably the entire United States, for just a lot, it doesn't cost anybody. So I didn't know, has the board given consideration to, because the advantage is, as an association, they would have to do what we tell them to do. They would have to operate under our guidelines, because it's in our community. And you would have what you want, we would have no liability, and we would stop 40 years of money lost.
I don't believe the board's considered selling the yacht club.
Okay.
Short answer to you.
Well, if the referendum goes through, and if you build this $5 million yacht club, my recommendation is raise the price $5 million, sell it for $25 million. Okay? This way, we get out of the debt. I'm a firm believer. Money talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There we go.
So be nice. So actually, a lot of the people ahead of me win that.
Who are you? Bill Sheridan, Ocean Parkway.
Took my load out of my sails. I had one question. You put up a charter swing cross. What?
Microphone like closer, Mr. Sheridan.
What about this? Is that better?
Or tilt it up.
That's it. All right.
Okay.
Did you subtract out the current activity from 157,000 when you got to the bottom line cost?
Ask me your question again, sir.
I saw 107,000 in brackets, and I thought it was a cost to food plans and all that stuff.
172, yes.
Was that in the bottom line turnkey, or not turnkey, the bottom line contract?
It was. You remember I did the real bold at the bottom, said 4.3. We took it out in the beginning because it's a separate issue, and then we added it back in.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll find it.
There you go, right there. That's the referendum number, that's it back in, that's total cost. So it's back in.
Okay. Do we have a signed contract yet?
We do not.
We do not. How do we get to the design cost? How do we figure out how much money that is? I think I read something like 2% of the value can be given out for design costs.
We've entered into an agreement with AWB for the plans. We don't have a contract finalized for 4.2 million or 3.9 when it comes to the builders.
Do we have a contract for 172?
Yes, we're working with AWB on that.
Okay.
Through Harkins. Through Harkins.
Okay. You showed our dues and how they come up to like $1.1 million at the other 5 years.
Yes, sir.
What happens after that?
They level off. Every year, $1.1 million is going into the reserve component under the 5-year plan to take care of this type of infrastructure.
Okay. Good work, thank you. What about working capital for this company?
Wait, I'm sorry.
The working capital of the contractor. Did the process?
Well, our case does approximately, and Don, correct me if I'm wrong, $40 million a year.
Yeah, we are bondable to $50 million. We had $100 million bonding capacity. Since the construction industry has went down, we lowered it to a $50 million bonding capacity. So this is Don Smith, the Harkins contractor.
The answer was they have a $50 million bond for their work, correct, Don?
Correct. We have a bonding capacity of $50 million right now.
So, yes.
More importantly, within this cost is the cost for a full payment of performance bond. Okay, that is included. So they will, if we choose to bond them, it's included in the price.
I guess the important item I think to consider, some of these people may be thinking about, I don't know. But we're in an economic condition now where it's pretty bad. And we have some friends in Ocean Pines. We're all friends, we're all part of Ocean Pines. And neighbors, same thing. But if you look around, you've got people who are losing their houses, losing their jobs, going on welfare, whatever it may be. And it's embarrassing to them. They lose their dignity. They even lose their credit rating. This idea of spending $4+ million is not a good time.
Hi everybody, my name is Doug Mesta. I live on Harborview. I'm a new guy. I've been here 1 year. Not full time yet either, but I'm mainly place. But anyway, first I want to thank you for your presentation. I think it's obviously a very substantial subject. I have a simple question regarding the bottom line, I guess, like everybody else's, and that is I heard a lot of the discussion on the new building. What I didn't hear was the exterior stuff. So the parking lots, the pavers, maybe something around the pool, I don't know. Were those numbers rolled into all this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let's look at it 2 ways. Great question. Remember I mentioned pavers in the area where it was?
Right.
Yeah, there's a whole design all the way around the building. The question, everybody heard the question, right? I want to make sure I answer this correctly. So around the building, yes. What we have not had included in this is the area here for the pool. Okay, separate project, separate phase. We had, and actually Art and I were looking at it the other day because it came up. We were looking at, we have some work we need to do on the pump house and some other things there. Before we did that work, we wanted to make sure we knew what we were doing with the yacht club because the way the whole area ties together. Right. So for right now, what we're talking about with the referendum covers this area and the parking area. And that all has been, which is included.
Yeah,
That's what I didn't think I heard.
Yeah,
it's included.
The paving, the asphalt, the striping, this is a slab on grade. That's the other thing. This building is not up on piles. It's a slab on grade concrete structure right on
And
grade.
raising your building,
Yeah, and this also includes all of the demo and removal of the old building as well, and getting rid of all of that. And includes this whole area here is the paver and walkway area. All of this is included. It includes the moving of the fuel tank. Harkins has got building the containment, and the $7,500 that was in there is just to rerun the existing piping. So that's the whole deal. Included in that is all the permitting required with the county.
Okay, so you've
Is there
got it
anything
all
I'm
there.
missing?
It's all in.
It's all in.
It's all in.
Good.
And in fact, I might point out, when we had some costs in there too about moving wiring and telephones and stuff like that, we learned about that here. And we had a spreadsheet that Bill Rako actually designed where we tracked every dollar in here. And there were some things that I went back to that spreadsheet when we were leveling bids and said, you know, the last time we didn't think of this, we need to add it in. And that's why you see that 241 includes stuff that we learned when we built this building that we didn't have in our price back then. So we tried to make sure we had everything in.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks for the question.
Bob, excellent presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I was really very impressed. My name's Wayne Hawkins. I have 2 properties here in Ocean Pines. I've been associated with Ocean Pines for over 10 years. And I have 2 questions. The first
being built to the current standard, which is the hurricane strapping, the windows, that's part of the package here. The other thing that needs to be considered, we're going slab on grade. So our mechanicals, are protected at that point. The building's being built, and please tell me if I'm wrong, we're at 8 foot or 8.5? 8.5 foot, above the sea level area. So we're covered there. So all those have been considered and looked at. There's no, now on the building here, and it's not really protection, but there's a knee wall that's built all the way down here that's actually higher than the dock area with a concrete top stone building with a flat top line. So that too would offer some, but it's not a rated protection.
The existing bulkhead will stay, or yes, it will stay?
The existing line of steel sheeting or wood bulkhead that's along there will stay down at the water. And 6 is where you're required to be, and we're at 8.5. And the existing yacht club's about 10. So when you go up those stairs, you're at 10. We're going to be sitting at 8.5 for the first floor.
My second question is, if you could bring up the slide regarding cost. You were talking about the actual cost of the building, and you were talking about some of the revenue, where it comes from, where the most efficient revenue would come from. But what I didn't see was, from a business perspective, I didn't see the ROI. So can you discuss the return on investment, what you're anticipating? Because you can say that catering is going to give us more of a return on the cost, but overall, when do we expect to see a return on that total investment?
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good question. I don't have an ROI slide to show you at this point. Last year, we were 172 in the red on the yacht club. I'm going to just tell you numbers off the top of my head. Part of our new management strategy, part of bringing a new manager in, is to be more effective on that. So, and again, there's kind of the smaller pieces. I'll give you kind of the overview. Give you an example. David's been here 2 months. We were 25,000 ahead of where we were last year at this time. So in a short period of time, we've had a significant improvement. At the end of June, we were 18,000 in the red last year. We're at 7,200 in the black this year. So in his short time, he's making the management decisions day to day to help turn that around. Do I have the overall picture on return on investment based on a $4.2 million project? No, sir. I do not.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate the honesty, but from my viewpoint, that helped me make a decision one way or the other.
Well, that's for the business plan, and that's part of, and again, I don't have that for you yet, that's part of what our goals are, what the objectives are with how we're going to use the facility, how we're going to train our people, how we're going to manage hours of operation. All that goes into the strategy of how we're going to operate efficiently moving forward. I've said all along, break even is our first goal. We made significant changes to get there. I think the biggest change we made at the end of September and now hiring David in May is getting the right manager in. And I'm extremely confident where we are.
Thank you.
A lot of pressure, David. Who's rethinking? Yes, ma'am.
Doris Lloyd with I have too many questions. What is the seating capacity of the new yacht club? The top floor.
Second floor will hold between 225 and 250 at full capacity.
Next question. As the new yacht club is being built, how long will we be able to use the old yacht club?
Great question. Thank you for asking it. Almost like the setup. I like that. That was a good question. Okay, there's some debate about it. Our proposal and our plan is what I said to the board last week. Here's our existing facility. Okay, here's the new facility. Working with Don, with Harkin, we're talking with them about what the plan is. They can start construction on the new facility while this one stays in place. The last element of construction will be the tower on the corner that's where the 2 bars in the new building are. The intent is to leave this operational through next season, through next summer. They can do construction fencing, and Don, you can jump in anytime, but we're going to have this blocked off with construction fencing. We have some logistics we need to worry about. Part of it is our deliveries are on this side of the building, but there's enough room here where they start that we've already thought that through in the process. So the intent is to get through next summer season before we have to close it down. When this closes, they need about 2 months to finish wrapping this part of it up. So it'll be in the fall. We're down here, we're up here. Don, am I wrong on any of those?
No, we're going to have to look at the logistics, do the fencing, the fuel, the phones, all that stuff we looked at once we just move forward to maintain the existing facility while we start the construction of the new facility.
Everybody hear that? So all the things are being looked at. But here's what, Don, we're basically looking at having both our existing facilities stay in operation through next summer. They can start construction on the new facility. We're already talking about having to relocate some of the piping and some of the others, but that's why we're working with Frank and Jones and Frank now to get that wrapped up. So we've already taken that into consideration.
So we will use the old yacht club through September of 2013.
Well, don't lock me in on that time. But yes, Bob, you said August, September, October. It's really going to depend on the permitting process and everything else. But yes, ma'am.
Okay. One more question. What is the foundation? Is there a crawl space?
It's slab, and Mr. Sikorsky pointed out, I'm afraid he said, make sure it's slab. So we don't have
regular footings,
right,
like you would, cinder block to grade, compacted dirt in there, some of your utilities running through it, then a slab on grade, like if you walked into your garage, a concrete slab on grade, and then on the first floor tile, on the second floor hardwood floors. Other than
first floor will be on the slab.
Yes, first floor will be on the slab.
Thank you. Good program.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Boone, and I'm also a new owner. I bought a condo in November of last year, and I have been coming down every month throughout the year to see, what's going on here. I'm not a full-time resident, but I will in a few years. First, I want to thank the board and everyone who does this job. It's a thankless job. I've been on board since I am currently on the board of the Meadows, which is where my condo is. I have been bringing people down here, visitors, every month since November. They are amazed at what this community is like. They are blown away by everything. My decision to move here was based on quite a few of the amenities. Now, I don't golf. I have played tennis in the past, but my first experience was the yacht club. I'm a single lady. I'm a retired teacher living on a pension and Social Security, and I can afford this. If you all have looked, I'm from Baltimore County. I have looked at retirement places and places where I would finally end up. You cannot touch anything back in Baltimore for the prices we're paying here. And for the community, the spirit, everything here. I just love it. I look forward to being a part of this community. I don't have the history that you all have with the buildings and all that's going on, so I'm learning. But I think looking around the room, a lot of us will be selling our houses at some point, and we need to look 40 years ahead. What's going to attract the people to come here and buy our houses at that time? I think it's going to be an updated community area like you're talking about. I've just never seen a community so affordable in this area. I just love it, and thank you for all the hard work. I think we should move forward with the new club.
Debbie Salakia, live on Ocean Parkway, been here a little over 12 years. Couple of questions I'd like to ask
depends on the arrangement. You can, the maximum capacity on the first floor is 160, and that's tight. 150 is probably the right number for the first floor.
And
Currently, we have on the first floor, David, help me, 80, it's approximately 80, depending on the configuration. Upstairs, 150, David, are we 180 upstairs, or what? What's your maximum capacity on the second floor, 180? There you go, plated dinner, 160.
So we've got considerable increase in seating capacity both first and second floor.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier in your dissertation there that the deck is the money-making area. And you've expanded that deck. If that's the money-making area, I don't really see why we should increase the inside seating capacity to such a degree that we're at. However, I'd like to share some of my beliefs and some of the beliefs of my neighbors here. We believe strongly in this community that, number one, the boards, both current and previous, have never been successful to manage the bar and restaurant area. Number two, they have never had control over the total operational cost of a bar and restaurant. Number three, they're totally oblivious to the slippage that has occurred over the years, and I think you all know what I mean by slippage. Number four, they just don't listen to what the community really wants and what might be supported. We do need a new facility. I don't disagree with that. But we only need one that will be successful, one that will be built to accommodate the average number of people that we currently serve. But every time the board goes off with some grandiose plans and in their budget, they have a tendency to overestimate and overstate everything. Reality is always considerably less than what the board's been doing over the years. The one thing that strikes me is that you're in a great deal of competition with a lot of restaurants in the area. Those restaurants, they have mortgage payments to pay or rent to pay. We have nothing. You can't even compete in any way, shape, or form in the past with anyone in the neighborhood. We've been totally unsuccessful at that. The service and the pricing is just out of control. The service is terrible, the pricing is overpriced, and not even in competition with your competition. Since you have a lot less, no rent, no mortgage payment, or anything else. As you saw, the labor costs are out of control. Our recommendation is if you want a favorable referendum, number one, scale this back to something that is more meaningful to the community. When you have bands and entertainment, yes, you have a great crowd outside. As soon as the band is over, the crowd is gone onto their normal restaurant where they have a better experience. So that the level of patronage you get, and above all, I think the real true answer to the success of a new yacht club, besides scaling it back to something more realistic, is to rent it out, lease it out. Remember, the first dollar of rent is going to represent in excess of $100,000 to the community by eliminating the losses that we have had over the years. A good lease would require a monthly rental payment plus a percentage of the profit. Anybody else in the neighborhood, in Ocean City and in the surrounding neighborhood, they pay the rent, they pay the mortgage, they make a profit. They stay in business over the years. We have no experience here. to be able to be in the bar and restaurant business. And so I think the thing that makes most sense is to find a good leasee, and lease it out, rent it, and be done with it. Thank you.
My name's Carol Frazier. I live on Bramblewood Drive, property owner since '83, resident since '84. I love Ocean Pines. I love our amenities, even though I don't use a lot of amenities. I hardly ever go to the yacht club. I use the pools quite good. I don't play golf. But I believe that all of these are important to Ocean Pines, so it does not. I'm not one of those people who says, well, I don't use it, so I'm not going to pay for it. That's, to me, it's part of the beauty of Ocean Pines, part of our, like the lady before said, selling points for our community club. That said, the gentleman before me pretty much said everything I wanted to say. When it comes down to a comparison between spending $3 million on a renovation and $4.3 on a new construction, to me that's a no-brainer, new construction. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. However, my philosophy is governments do not run businesses well. And that starts on the local level, at a community association, goes to your city, goes to your county, your state, your federal. But governments, entities, have no business running businesses. I agree with the gentleman before, lease it out, sell the property, whatever you need to do, let somebody come in who knows what they're doing. You guys on the board, I think you do a good job managing our community for the most part. And I'm not one of those people who believes anybody has nefarious motives or anything that gets angry about stuff, okay? I just think that it's a whole different philosophy of who should be running a business, and it shouldn't be the government. City of Salisbury doesn't own any restaurants. The Town of Berlin doesn't own any restaurants. I don't think the state of Maryland owns any restaurants. So that's just the philosophy that I operate under. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Campbell, long-term resident here. I have some questions. It's a nice presentation. I enjoyed it. But a couple things that I have questions on are you discussed the financials. But I didn't hear anything said about demolition.
It's included.
That was included in Lou's pricing.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Whose pricing?
Harkins.
Harkins pricing?
That number includes, the bottom line number includes tearing the building down and getting.
I just didn't see demolition anywhere.
It's in their lump sum cost.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was an additional or.
No, it's a good question. It's in there.
Okay, and another thing was, the first time I came, Becker Morgan looked at designs from Becker Morgan, and he listed Harkins as an advisor. I don't know anything about this other company. Can they provide information what buildings they've done?
Yes, the board's looked, no, it's a good question. The background on both companies, the board has looked at extensively.
The company AWP.
What's it? AWB.
AWB, are they a local?
They're out of Salisbury.
Okay.
They work close.
Tell a little bit about
Good microphone.
Yeah,
Okay. AWB Engineers has been a company out of Salisbury for 37 years now. Andrew W. Booth formed the company in the late 70s, and we have done large projects, small projects. We have done a lot in manufacturing and industrial and distribution centers. We're registered in like 25 states. We do work outside of the area as well as here. Most recently, some of the things that we've done: the Bridgeville Library, the West Ocean City Fire Department, Station 5 on Kaiser Point Road, Parsonsburg Fire Department, chop tanks, electric cooperatives, headquarters building in Denton. We've done numerous size facilities. Most recently, a 700,000 square foot facility in Boston, Massachusetts, and we're currently working with Camber on the new Ocean Pines, the Ocean Landings 2 retail center, which is about 126,000 square feet. So we have the capacity to handle, these type of
May I ask you a question? This is how many square foot?
20,000.
And I heard no columns. So I'm assuming this is going to be a steel?
No, it's going to be wood frame construction.
With no columns?
Exactly. Yeah, engineered trusses for the roof structure and engineered trusses for the floor structure that can span the distance that we put together.
Thank you for your answers.
Oh, sure.
Very cool. So
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Stein. I've been in Ocean Pines for a year. I've been property here for 6 years. But I just recently been here about a year. I have a few quick questions. Not knowing what's in the contract of Hawkins, to reduce your future costs for heating and air conditioning. Hopefully, if the residents here elect to build a new facility, that thermal heating and air conditioning would be considered rather than conventional. And the other thing is there in the contract a construction deadline? So to avert cost overruns, that would be in the contract. So if it runs over, we can start deducting. My other question that I have is, I'm going by the article in this paper here that says OPA still not confirming Pine Shore offer. Why is OPA even considering the Pine Shore offer or property? And what do you intend to do with that property should you purchase the property?
All right. First off, we have basically a one-year construction schedule that starts on the date that we get permits and we have a mobilization thing. And we're going to sit down. If the referendum is approved, we'll sit down with Don and hammer out exactly what ends up happening through that. Okay, so we'll have a construction schedule that covers us. What was the first question again on?
It was about thermal heating and
Okay,
cooling rather than the standard.
We did take prices on going to geothermal, and the cost versus the return over the life of the system was not worth it. I can't remember, we were around 240 or something to go to geothermal on the building. We did, though, go back and take a look at the energy savings on the old versus the new. The old building, we spent approximately $85,000 a year for utilities. The estimated cost of utilities annually on the new building is about $65,000. So with the new construction, insulation, windows, all of that stuff, we're looking at about $20,000 in energy cost savings. And just to show you how that worked, when we built this building, even though we used this building 7 days a week, our energy, the building was so much more efficient than the old one, we actually reduced the cost to run this building versus what we were running the old building that was here. So we looked at geothermal, but based on the cost, based on the return, based on how long the equipment would last, based on the number of wells that had to be drilled, and also in our situation, we've got the wetland issue as well. That limits us a little bit on where we could go. We would have ended up having, we've got this whole area that's wetlands here. We also have fuel tank pipes that run through here. So all of our drilling would have had to been out in this area, which would have created more problems. So we did look at it in terms of that. Another part?
As the agenda.
What about solar panels?
If you have questions, please go to the front so everyone can hear. But we have looked at, just FYI, we have looked at all types of different, geothermal was the big one we're looking at, just didn't seem to be cost efficient. We're looking at some of the other strategies. We'll talk with Don about it. We're trying to figure out what's going to be the long-term best result for us. The current design and what we have, we think is right. We're still looking at a couple of the other pieces. The solar technology and some of the, like the geothermal with all the wells we have put in, nice to say, but in real numbers, just didn't turn, the difference wasn't there. Did have a gentleman grab me at the end of the last meeting and gave me a disc. He lives here, but he has energy solutions as well. I'll be talking with him after this meeting. So we're always looking. I like looking at any type of green technology.
Let's say one more statement to make. A few good points were brought up that never even occurred to me, such as possibly, I don't think we should sell the yacht club, but possibly get somebody in to run it. And my statement right now is, in consideration as to that maybe this board step back for 1 year, see if you can get the costs under control before we start new construction. We'll give you 1 year to see if you get things run right so we can profit from this, or at least get our costs down to where we break even. If you can do that after a year, then I think more people would be in favor of building a new yacht club. At this point, I'd say it's 50-50, and it's going to be close, and I don't think that most of the people in this community are going to approve of it under the current conditions. That's all I want to say.
No, you know what? That's a fair question. But let me give it to you this way. A year from now, we're going to have to make a tough decision. Shut the building down completely, or we'll be underway with construction. We know we have an inefficient design that's not economical to run. We know that, okay? So that's costing us money. We know that the flow, the capacity and the flow doesn't work. We know that. When it comes to the layout of the kitchen, we have so many inefficiencies with the building. I'm not saying it's an excuse not to run efficient, and that's why we're taking huge strides forward. And I agree that when the lady stood up and said where government shouldn't run businesses. First, we're not a government. We're an HOA. You are the stockholders. And I know he hates it, Mr. Gonsack hates when I say that. But our membership, you all are the owners of the company. Secondly, we are trying to run a business-like manner. And I think we're making huge strides forward. So the inefficiencies of the HVAC, just the heat and cooler space, the poor design, the columns, it's a very tough building to run and try to run efficient. Now, could you do it? You could. It's going to be a big challenge. In a year, we're going to have to make a decision. And that's when the safety of the building is going to come into play. How much more patchwork will we do? And that's going to be up to you all to tell us. Good question. Okay. Thank you.
Next.
Good morning. My name is Norm Katz with a 10 Holly Court. Essentially, I have a statement, but the statement opens up a lot of questions. The presentation that we saw really implies that we have two choices, either to rehabilitate, which would be inadequate to build a building for $3 million. And I disagree with that. I think that we have a choice. As a matter of fact, this building here is actually a testimonial to that. It's interesting that Rob referred to the Taj Mahal, which this building was known as before it was downsized. Okay, and I think that we have to do with the downsizing. Okay. So do we need to do something about the yacht club? Absolutely, and there's no doubt about it. But to spend $4.3 million on a new facility is really a very poor choice. I've lived in the Pines for 14 years, and during that time, we've had 3 general managers. We're on our 3rd food and beverage manager, and we've had about 13 different elected boards of directors. They were all well-meaning, but they all lost money. Some years, the yacht club doesn't have to be profitable. In fact, if we came close to breaking even, I would be very happy, it'd be fine by me. But the yacht club is an eternal financial burden, and has been all of these years. Now, to most of us, it's abundantly clear that what we've been doing year after year just doesn't work. Logically, at least suggests that we have to do this with a different approach. We're throwing good money after bad to perpetuate the same misguided food and beverage operations. It might not be the Taj Mahal, but I think what the board is advocating is that we build a building for $4.3 million that's going to be a new Titanic. The board, the general manager, and I have to say, actually, some of the board candidates as well, were either misinformed or because they're delusional. I hate to say that, but I'm trying to be funny. Maybe I'm not. The yacht club is not a community meeting place. Okay, the majority of people don't go there. Okay, what the yacht club is nothing more than a restaurant and it's a lounge. And if it's treated accordingly, okay, it will not be a financial drain. In the present form, I'm going to vote against the yacht club referendum. It's my hope that it's soundly defeated so that we can move ahead with a rational solution to our food and beverage amenity. And in my opinion, the rational solution is a downsized building operating seasonally. And a note, by the way, when Bob was talking, he talked about seasonal. And that's where we make all our money. That's his words. A downsized building really would be a true amenity because it will be supported by the people who use it, and it will not be a never-ending financial burden on the association members. So maintaining the same old operation year after year is out of the question. And asking the membership to approve a referendum to build a perpetual financial burden, I think is outrageous. Okay? So I urge everybody to vote no for a new Titanic, and then we can go ahead and approach this and downsize it to build what's right. Thank you.
Well, of course, I have to say something. Almana Falls from Ocean Pines, and I've been here for 20 years or more. First of all, I want to thank Bob for doing such an outstanding job presenting this, and the board for coming forward. Remember, folks, we elect these people to protect us and take care of our area and our properties. And it seems like they're trying to give us a good idea, which I feel is very important. Now, I was undecided, and I studied it. And people just hate to see changes. And look at this, how beautiful this turned out. The only thing I want is a good bridge player to come and give us a place to play bridge. We have to be shoved from one place to another. Will we be able to get a bridge room where we can play? And the other thing is, I disagree with the person who said that we have seen no improvements in the yacht club. I definitely see improvements, and a lot of people I've seen and been over there. We've been getting good groups together, and I think we hate changes. But I feel the board has a great idea for our future, and this is our future we're talking about. So I put money into bed, so I decided I'm going to vote for it. And I know you're going to get the money, and you're going to work to support it. And I've been wanting to support it. And thank you for doing a great job.
Hi, John Ferdinand. I live in Windjammer. I'm going to go back to the question I asked you first back in January. What's the tipping point when you have to do the renovation? How much do you have to spend? Which we have yet to get that answer.
What do you mean?
In other words, if we started doing repair, not rehabbing the whole whole building all at once, but doing it piece by piece, incrementally, at what point is somebody come in and tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, you've got to do all those things that you listed on your original scope of work?
The simple answer is we make the decision, but my question is, if you go in and you only fix the piles, it's going to cost you more than to fix the decks. If you think about it, if you go in and you're getting ready to fix a room up, and you just take a little piece and fix one wall, and then a few days later you come back, it ends up costing you a lot more money. You need to make a decision. If I'm going to fix this building, fix it right. And that's the way we did it. We didn't go into functionality. We went into basic things, glass, glazing, insulation, all that. Dan, you want to go?
Ned, I think that the question that's being asked is the same one that the board asked you a while back. And that's from a building code standpoint. What's the tipping point that will push us into current building codes and force us to do a complete renovation? We talked about it.
We're an alteration 3. We're a level 3. If you were to renovate it, you're a level 3, which means you need to bring it up. As soon as you address more than 50% of the square footage of the building, and we would be just in doing the internal piles alone, you go to alteration 3, which steps you up in building code. The winds up to 120, I think it is now, instead of 90, the way the building was set. So from a tipping point, if you're going to fix this structure, you even just want to do the thermal, the exterior of the building and the underneath, we're there now, okay? We don't have 3 years to go. Even those that want to rehab say, hey, we're going to have to do something. You've got, at most 12 months left there, and that means we probably may have to do some more work after we go back in and look at the building again. Just in the last several years, if those of you that remember, out in front of the building, we had the second floor shored up while they went in and poured some grade beams in to cover piles. Underneath that building, and I've crawled through it with Bill Raykow, we found piles that you could stick your hand through. Those have been temporarily shored. This past spring, right along the back where the dock is, we went in and did some more work based on it. We're there, okay? On that building, we're at the tipping point now, and the real question becomes, if it's going to be rehab, you really need to fix it right, and is it worth sticking that kind of money in that building when you get all set?
Okay, the next question is, the reason we're here is because nobody took care of that building. In 40 years, it was ignored. They patched here, patched there, but they, Bob mentioned last time about facilities engineer, well, we used to call him building superintendent. I have heard somebody has to have a job of checking these buildings out constantly. You can't let
it go. I'm in total agreement with you.
Okay, well then there has to be some way to make sure that happens. That's their job, your job.
Well, agreed. The board actually approved in the budget this year, we put a position for a facility engineer. I use that term, like you said, there are a number of terms for it. We had that position allocated, and we will fill that position this year.
Okay, because if somebody does that job, poor people 40 years from now won't be sitting here doing the same thing.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
It's always one more.
I'll be quick.
Mr. Sheridan.
They won't play bridge with
Excuse me, I want to say one thing. Everybody's talking about how big the new yacht club is. The existing yacht club is 17,900 square feet. The new yacht club is 20,100 square feet. It's only an increase of 2,200 square feet. It is not a large increase over your current size. Your current size is laid out inefficiently. It does not work. The new building is completely laid out differently. So it's not that much bigger. It's just a better layout. That's what you have to look at.
That'll be a good one. No, just a quick follow-up to something that Joe Sloppy brought up. The seating capacity, or the square footage, I guess when you have tables or whatever. Sound like with maybe 20% more seating capacity? No. You've got some numbers there,
You can get 100 more seats on the second floor alone. And right now, management has turned away events because there's not enough seating. So if Bob sits there and tells you they can get more money from banquets, then if you can increase your banquet capacity and increase that product alone, you probably will solve a huge financial piece right there just by getting
Let me
that.
address the square footage and seating. Okay. Think about your second floor of your yacht club right now. A boatload of it gets taken up by a stair. Okay. Let me borrow your microphone. Okay.
All right, if you're talking about seating capacity and what we have, if you think about the second floor of your yacht club right now, it's got a stairwell that carves out of the middle of it and takes a lot of the seating capacity out of there. It's got columns on 10-foot centers, so you don't have a lot of room to move. This is a whole open concept in here, and while you can put 250 people in, it's designed if you're going to have a wedding and you want to have a band, or you want to have a dance floor, that you can still put 180 to 200 people in and have that band and have that dance floor. If you go into our current yacht club, when I think he said around 170, I think we can get 180 max in there. By the time you get done putting a dance floor in there or putting a band in there, you're down to the 120s or you're crammed in there. So when we talk seating space, it also is functionality. It doesn't mean you have to put 250 people in it. It means that's how many it'll hold, but how are you going to use that space? If you're having a wedding and you want a dancing floor, you're not putting 250 people in the new building. And so that's part of the reason why, and it's also more efficient use of space. Right now, when they have the larger banquets there are people sitting on the loft going to the third floor, not on the same floor where everybody else is.
Hopefully that gets you somewhere close.
You don't have any limit.
Well, my concern was bringing it up, is the fact that you can't fill it out, now we're going to have more room, are we going to be able to fill it? And I get that, great. The other thing is that it is hard to put people in Ocean City, because, you know, the bars in Ocean City for people, they go from one to another, it's like their second home. And we're kind of remote from Ocean City to get that. Second of all, those people have like, attraction to those places. A lot of them are open, 24 hours a day or 12 months. If we close this thing, we're going to not have a dedicated group of people come. If you close it for the winter, you've got to establish a clientele and keep them there. I'm not for or against it, but bring out information that I can say that. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning. It looks like I'm the last person, so I won't be taking too much time. It's almost lunchtime. My name is Slobodan Trendik. I own the property on Drawbridge Road for the past 4 years. Recently retired and getting ready to move full time. So, I have heard a lot of interesting discussion this morning, a lot of good conversation. Bob, a great job on the presentation, and I know it's not an easy job to sit here and get hit with tennis balls every now and then. But let me give you just one quick comment, and I'll follow up with a question. The consensus that I'm getting out of what resonated this morning throughout the whole conversation is really, it seems like all coming around to the question of confidence. The confidence in the association management, the confidence in the board to run the new yacht club and do it profitably. What comes through my mind is the notion of, is this a for-profit asset that we are talking about, or is this an amenity that just needs to be part of Ocean Pines? So when I moved here, I understand that there are some things that we have to have as a community, and they never will make profit. So that's the first question that I'm asking myself, which is really going to drive how I vote. So if I accept the fact that this is an amenity and not for-profit operation, then I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, different decision, different factors will drive my decision. What I would like to ask the gentleman and Bob and the board is what happens if the referendum comes back with the result that basically the club is voted down? No. What are your plans? Because I think everybody understands that the current facility is lived its purpose. It's unsafe. So a year from now, what do? Do you have a plan to go with a scaled-down version, or what's going on? From my perspective, if I try to answer the question of confidence, and if you want to run a yacht club that's more profitable or that's more valuable, I have traveled a lot throughout the world, and I have because of my job. And what I have noticed in the last decade is very often the vehicle of PPP, private-public partnership, gets implemented in some of the major infrastructure projects. You even see it here in this country, which has been very popular in the emerging markets. But even now in this country, the PPP model is taking hold. Why I bring this up is because one of the things that we can do in order to overcome maybe the whole notion of price and everything else is really to see whether there is any business willing to come in, do a BOO, a BOT kind of a model, run it for 10 or 20 years, then turn it over back to ours, and it costs us zero. So to me as a businessman, that would be a very attractive strategy. But, setting aside that, short question is, what do we do after September if you don't get the answer you're hoping to get? And a final comment on the yacht club design. I'd love to see a rooftop facility. It's a great view, the skyline of the ocean city. I've been all over the world. I've been to the clubs on the rooftops. It's a priceless real estate value. And I would love to have a martini bar up there and enjoy the sunset. So I think it might be an overlooked potential for improving the design of the facility. But thank you very much for your attention. And no matter what happens, I think there is no winners or losers. I think it's really just going to come down to, let's embrace each other as a community, because nobody is trying to do anything negative here. I think everybody has good intentions, including the board and the management, doing what they try to do with what they know, and hopefully, everything's going to work out where everybody's going to be happy at the end. Thank you.
One more thing, while he spoke about renting our place and everything. Do you folks remember when we rented the yacht club for 5 years, I think it was, and how they ruined it? And we ended up having to spend all that money, so that's out of the question in my book. I just want to bring it to your mind. Let's progress and go forward and believe in our board of directors, and that's it.
Thank you, and I wanted to answer here that just one. I started to answer, but I didn't want to interrupt you. The gentleman just asked a couple questions, and I just wanted, and I saw Mr. Unger raise his hand to say something, but we're hoping, and where's you sit back down? Oh, there you go. Thank you. I always think we're hoping we're inspiring confidence in the efficiency of the operation as a whole. A couple of things, and I don't want to be disparaging towards anyone or our past history, because we've had a lot of changes over the years. If you look at the past management of the yacht club, okay, and I just think it's important that the membership realizes that we had a long-time manager there, okay? We didn't do well. Great guy, nice guy, a lot of people liked him. We weren't very efficient in the operation, for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. His right-hand person took over running the yacht club. Again, great guy, but if you think about it, where's the history or the experience if the boss for X number of years didn't run it effectively? It puts you a little behind the ball for the next guy. Not his fault, just a fact. That is why, and I thought we were making, I still think we are, They're making strides forward. We went out and did a large search to get a very qualified, experienced person to run the yacht club. In a very short period of time, we're seeing positive results. I'm extremely encouraged by it, and I believe the board is. So we're trying to show that. So when you're asking, are we inspiring confidence, 3 years in a row the association is ended ahead of budget in its overall. If that doesn't inspire confidence, I'm not sure what else to do. So and it's a great question. We've hired a manager with experience. I believe the results, we're starting to see it already in a very short period of time. So I think we're taking those strides forward. So I just wanted to make sure I answered your question, so thank you for that. Mr. Katz.
What is the alternative?
Mr. Katz, if you let me finish. I started to turn to Mr. Unger. I believe when I started, I said Mr. Unger also wanted to answer his question. I'm going to do my part first. I started to turn this way where Mr. Unger's sitting, so please. And Mr. Unger, you wanted to have a say. You looked at me and I was going to give it to you.
Gentleman back there, at this point in time, after 3 years on the board, this session, everything that we've looked at, all the studies that have been done, we do not at this point in time have an alternative. If the referendum doesn't pass, we simply start all over and take the information that we get from you guys and what we have in the past and start all over, because something has to be done to the building as soon as we can get it done. If it doesn't pass, we start over, and it may be smaller, it may be the same thing.
My name is Will Holstein. I live in Throw County. I go with all the student meetings. I've been to a hotel with Bob Thompson. He's a nice fellow. But I had a meeting with the president, Tom Terry, and the question came up with the yacht club. And Tom told me, he said, Dutch, we need something for the people to associate. I said, Tom, I'm really for this. This is a nice building. But why did we need a $4 billion building if we need just a thing to communicate the people to each other? Let me come back to one thing, this building. What cost us about $1.8 million? Years ago, they wanted to build, cost us $6 million. The same thing with this. Now, the way I speak, I speak with a better accent. Why did we want to build a castle if we only need a stable? We don't need this. Unfortunately, Mr. Thompson is a very nice fellow. I don't know personal guy. But the only thing I hear is the outside people. The golf course is sinking too. We paid $800 and some people more to live in Ocean Park. And if the people don't want to eat in the yacht club from Ocean Park, there is a reason for it. Now, a couple months ago, there was a story in the paper. We have 12,000 people living here in the Pines, right? Okay, year round. 60% from these people are under 60 years. That was in the paper. This is working class people. They cannot go and eat over there for $30, $40, $50 for what it costs. This is the whole question here. We have to slow down. We don't want to do better than the Jones. This is the whole problem here. I've been 22 years in Ocean Park. I never saw the yacht club making money. You can build a castle, the people are not coming. I'm against it. I'll vote against it. I like to see a smaller community, a smaller thing for the people of Ocean Park, or swimming pool. If you don't got a yearly pass, if you go swimming, it costs you $7, right? The people from the outside pay $7.50. We're paying money to the swimming pool. Why didn't we cover that swimming pool up for the people from the outside? Now, I got nothing against the kids. I love kids.
But that was a big mistake too. And it's the same thing going to be with this. You cannot push the people into the yacht club. On a Friday evening and a Saturday, yes. There are people, there's music. When the music is going, the people are going. Or maybe say the problem with the music stuff, the people go home. And it's not going to work. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm tough to you, but I think you're a nice person. But I cannot see anything in that New York. Thank you.
I guess I'm the last one. Well, I know it's positive. But my name is David C. And we bought a house a year ago. Haven't thought about that now. We bought it on the golf course. I don't play golf, hearing all this. I live in Baltimore City, always when I live in Baltimore City, so just come down the weekend. I live in a community of Baltimore City. I lived, born and raised in Baltimore City, lived there almost my whole life. We have a library that needed renovation. And this is about 5 years ago. We had a community committee that put together all the proposals for renovating this library and presented to Baltimore City. And you know, Baltimore City was not the best financial shape. And Baltimore City said to us, if you want to renovate this library, you're going to have to come up with, and I forget the exact number, $1.5 million from the community. Not taxes, contributions. Renovate. The library is about the size of our yacht club, so the community raised the money to renovate the library. A library. We don't want to make any money off the library because we felt that strongly. We still feel that strongly about our community. We have this beautiful renovated library that's used by the school children in the community and children outside the community. We have a country club in our community. About 33 acres of green space in Baltimore City, which is very rare. This country club wanted to sell the country club, and a hospital went by, and they were going to put up also assisted living buildings. The community fought this. We got our city representative support. We got our state representative. We did not allow them to sell their private property to whomever they wanted. They did not do that. Now they're coming to us, and after 3 years, the egos have settled down a little bit. Leadership has changed, and they have come to the community and said, well, we'll sell it to you, $10 million. So we, the community, now this is about, we have about 1,100 homes in this community. If you want to buy it, now this isn't tax money, we're going to have to raise the $10 million to buy this country club, keep this space green. We're not building something up. So I guess I come down here and I hear this insular thinking, and it just, I guess I'm just having a hard time and my wife and I are totally for and support this. We've been to the yacht club. This is why we bought down here, well, not quite, but to be in this community. So I appreciate all the work that everyone's done with this. It is a lot of money, I understand, for the family. We have the money to do this. From what I'm hearing, hopefully more people will come to this yacht club once it is rebuilt and use the yacht club, banquets, wedding, and I think there's a future for this. This community's got to think of the future and think about the big picture.